Hello there, welcome back to the Random Show, episode number 47, with your host, with How, your host. Hope you're doing well. Oops, I don't want to hit the feedback here from my phone. Hope you're doing good wherever you have tuned into the show. Welcome back. I'm glad you are here. I'm glad some of you are joining me. Some of you are first time watchers. Some of you are recurring watchers, subscribers on the stream, members on the stream, Patreon supporters, all that good stuff, podcast fans, just people that check in from time to time. Wherever you are and however you found your way here, I'm happy to be in front of you. I'm happy to be providing some semblance of entertainment, and I hope you shall enjoy my sultry tones as I go through some of these interesting topics concerning mostly stuff to do with the LA podcast scene, and of course some other random bits, because at the end of the day it is the random fucking show. So hopefully you guys enjoy. As per usual, the Beer Fund donation link is in the chat if you want to get involved in that. If you just want to support the stream in general, then please make sure that you are liking it. If you don't enjoy it, then obviously dislike it. That still helps with the algorithm and all that good stuff. If you want to join in again and check myself back again, then you can always subscribe. Or if you just want to check me out and just stare deeply into my black Amazon lenses, then you could do that also. I really do appreciate that. But big up the pack chat. People are saying, what? R.I.P. Joe Rogan. Oh, hello, LOL. That's a good little troll to run with, though, on the day of Queen Lizzie's death. And talking about Queen Lizzie's death, I just wanted to touch on that because obviously I'm a Brit. Obviously I am somebody who would be touched about her passing. So R.I.P. Queen Elizabeth II. She passed. She is gone. She had a good life, a very long life. I think there's not a lot of because I put my tribute here for Queen Elizabeth II was her ability to essentially drive herself around her manor, and just in terms of life at that kind of age, I don't think I've seen any other person plus the age of 80 being able to drive or being allowed to drive. So that is essentially the greatest representation, I feel like, of privilege, that you're able to get behind your car and drive and drive and drive. I've never really found out why they always have their car in a dark forest green. I guess maybe something to do with Windsor, so maybe might be some kind of reason behind it. But if she wasn't in a Range, she was in a Jag. If it wasn't in a Jag, she was in a Jeep. If it wasn't in a Jeep, she was being driven around in some sort of horse and carriage. So she had a fucking amazing life. So big up Queen Lizzie for having a great life, being able to just be taking these amazing pictures. Because I always enjoyed the pictures of her driving and looking, because that's the thing I liked about Queen Elizabeth, right? These photo stunts weren't photo stunts in the conventional sense. They were stunts, but she was actually doing the stunt. She was like Tom Cruise before Tom Cruise was Tom Cruise, right? She was the one actually behind the wheel, doing the thing, actually going there and kissing babies, shaking hands, stealing, artworks from third world countries and bringing them back and putting them to museums. Like, she was doing it, stealing jewels, all that good stuff, right? And so here she is, obviously driving, obviously about to run over a very small child and his or her dad, which is kind of great to see here. Queen Lee's behind the wheel, doing doing a doing a Kris Jenner before Kris Jenner, which is absolutely crazy. Or no, what's her name? Before Caitlyn Jenner before Caitlyn Jenner. So she's obviously doing that thing, looking like she's going on a run, looking like she's going on the milk run the day after, or on a little offie run the day after having a bit of a heavy session. That's clearly something that she's doing. So all that stuff is good. But me personally, I've had a very complex and interesting relationship with the royal family, as most people who are immigrants of this country have, especially when it comes to their colonial past or colonialism past, right? It's something that you can't really shake, especially if you start reading up on it a bit more. But the one thing I think most people, especially most immigrants as well. I don't know why black people are so connected to her, but the one thing that kind of shook most people up, I think, and kind of removed any illusion or any kind of fairy tale associated with the royal family was when Princess Diana was killed, right? I think that's when everybody's eyes were kind of opened, as in how dark and scary and really kind of frightening this family can get if they can essentially off Princess Diana because they didn't agree with who she was essentially getting shacked up with after her separation with Charles. So that's something that's always kind of disturbed me in that regard. And obviously all the other stuff in terms of artworks from around the world and stealing that and jewels and whatnot. It's just a very sketchy and dodgy family in general. And and there's probably some dark witchcrafty satanic things involved in it as well. But Again, I'm not that clued up on it, not that educated on it, but I know from the stuff that I did read, stuff that I did see, I didn't like it. But again, I have nothing but respect for a lady that's able to whip herself around after the age of 90. I feel like people crying now and get upset she passed is a bit ridiculous. She lived into her 90s. Most of us won't even see our 90s. She was still walking unaided with only the help of a stick in her late 90s. She lived a really fruitful, I feel like, life. You know, the trappings of everything that she wanted. She wasn't even the 1%. She was in the top 0.0% in terms of quality of life. This whole debate around the energy bill was not affecting her. So, big up her, let her rest and lie in peace and do all that good stuff. I still can't believe that she ended up dying before fucking Prince Philip. Prince Philip legitimately looks like he's on death's door, but somehow he's hanging around and, Queen Elizabeth is fucking gone. How'd that happen? I guess it's just, it's like those family members that you have, right? Where you have a family member who might smoke and drink all the time, but then you have another family member who goes on like marathons and stuff, and all they eat is like, white rice and chicken. And then they're the ones that develop cancer, but the one that was smoking all the time and drinking and doing bumps and flipping coke and ketamine every weekend, they're completely fine. So I think that might be the reason, but it's crazy that this fucker is still alive somehow. How is he still alive? Who knows? Who cares? But again, RIP Queen Elizabeth. We're probably going to get loads of great bank holidays and stuff happening as this kind of transpires and it goes through. There's some news or some story about football being cancelled, which I'm absolutely gutted about. The next few fixtures in the Premier League might get postponed in the honour of or to kind of respect her flipping passing or whatnot, which is flipping annoying. I don't know what Queen Elizabeth has to do with football. But hey, it is what it is. She's been whipping and driving around for time, innit? She was a bit of a piece back in the day, innit? Right? She was a bit of a piece back in the day, but then when she started getting older, she started to age like a flipping avocado. But she was definitely a bit of a piece back in the day, Queen Lizzie, innit? She definitely get it. No? Don't you think so? Obviously, if I tried to approach her back then, she'd probably have my hands cut off or something, Get this nigga out of here. This nigga is trying to touch me. No. So that wouldn't happen. But anyway, let's move on. So we are back here, ready to roll, ready to do our thing. Hope you guys are really feeling good, feeling wavy and nice and stuff. I've got a nice flipping cold brew coffee thing going on here. I've got a bottle of water just about to finish. It's a really crappy actual bottle of water. It's all crushed up, but it's tasty enough. So if you've got your little drinks and you're ready to roll, let's go. Let's do our thing. Let's do our thing. Now, first of all, the first point I wanted to make, right? Aside from all the comedy stuff, I wanted to touch upon because I thought it was really interesting. I'm not sure if you guys have been paying attention to it, right? But there's this rapper out there called Quando, Rondo, right? Who's been going through some very interesting times the last couple of weeks, right? He was involved in a pretty scary shooting incident, a drive-by shooting incident, where one of his best friends unfortunately passed away whilst he's in LA, right? I'm going to get that up on your screen so you can kind of see what I'm talking about. So, blah, 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 blah. So this is the guy I'm talking about, right? Quando Rondo. So he was involved in a very scary shooting incident where in LA he was driving around with his friend and another gang decided to kind of drive by, spray his car with bullets, and unfortunately his friend that was on the side where the bullets were coming in from took the brunt of the damage and ended up passing out in the scene or passing away in the scene. The videos were rolling, video cameras rolling because obviously it's fucking LA, and then people captured his actual reaction as he finds out his friend's dead and he's screaming like no, 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 right? Like it's probably like guttural, painful stuff that's going on there. But if we roll back a little bit, this guy is also involved in a little skirmish that led to the death of King Vaughn, right? The very popular Chicago rapper who is kind of connected with Lil Durk and his crew. And essentially what happened is that him and his friends were outside of a club somewhere in Atlanta. They get into a scuffle with King Vaughn. King Vaughn looks like he's getting the better of him and his friends, and his friend ends up pulling out a gun and killing King Vaughn, right? And then that ends up him being one of the most unlikable, I think, like people in the scene, because I guess people like King Vaughn didn't really like him too much. So he's already on the back foot. And then I guess he then decided to get linked up with what they called neighborhood Crips, I think, in LA, right? Is it neighborhood? Is that what he's part of? I think it's neighborhood Crips. Yeah, neighborhood Crips rolling 60s. This is the one. That's who he ends up rolling up, right? He ends up deciding to join up with this gang called the neighborhood Crip rolling 60s, which I think is the same group that Nipsey Hussle was a part of, I'm pretty sure. He ends up being a part of them. Obviously, you see him throwing up the gang signs there and obviously trying to be part of the gang, blah, 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 in order to get some protection. Anyway, long story short, it's all gone really Pete Tong for him because I guess in the wake of his friend dying, he has now posted this story on his Instagram where he said the following. He said, I'm not jump out gang either. I ain't no loyalty in this shit. I'm my own man. I laid my flag down. I'm not no limit. Sorry, I'm not neighborhood. Sorry, y'all ain't gonna ride for a nigga for real. It's no sense of me being a part of y'all shit. Y'all fuck with your position. I don't give a fuck who feel it. Fuck you if you can't feel it. Where I'm coming from on this, you're a bitch ass nigga because it doesn't take a rocket scientist to see what the fuck is going on. And everybody, you already hate me. I ain't tripping on the extra hate, but I'm about to focus on my family and the ones who are gonna really drop a tear if I die. Next screenshot. More of the same, right? So basically he was really pissed off that essentially his gang member friends that he was linked up with weren't willing and ready to kind of ride out for him because of what happened with him and his friend that passed away. And so now he decided to lay down his flag and essentially be, I'm not in a gang anymore, which you obviously can't do. I know that as a fucking pedestrian, as a civilian who's never been in a gang, who's, never had any of those kind of serious troubles. But the reason why I was thinking that this is interesting was that if you look at it deeply, most likely what happened is that the gang that he was affiliated with most likely felt like he wasn't contributing enough. He wasn't maybe giving them enough money, checking into enough, or just being present enough in their kind of situation. That most likely they either set him up in terms of they get another gang that gave him the drop on him in terms of his location, or they got other members within the gang to then go and spray his bullets as a kind of like warning thing. It's like, hey, you need to fix up and get back in line. So essentially they kind of did that whole like double thing where, I think they used to do it back in the day, like the mafia used to do it, right? Where they'd purposely like light your shop on fire and then come back and tell you need protection. And then you're meant to give them a certain amount per month or per week or whatever it may be to kind of keep all the kind of troublemakers away. And the reason why I was thinking that this is really funny in terms of like everyday life is that, or not funny, why it's really sad is that what it basically proves is that there's no real rules when it comes to street shit, right? There's no rules when it comes to gangster stuff, when it comes to gang shit, when it comes to criminality. And if you think about it really, in the wider world also, there are no real rules. We have to abide by some because you don't want to go to jail. But for the most part, you really have to look after you and your own family. You can't rely on anybody, even your gang, your family, your friends, your company you work for. You have to kind of mind your own business. Like there's many times I've been in companies where you try and stand up for somebody who's going through a bad time, right? Maybe they're getting bullied by a manager or they're getting bullied by a colleague or something, or they're not getting fair treatment in terms of being given a chance to show their potential. Sometimes you stick your nose in and it can end up backfiring on you and you end up being the one that ends up getting sacked or you end up being the one that gets written up and stuff. You can't really stick your hand out to try and help someone because it may end up blowing back in your face. And I feel like with this guy, even though he wants to jump out of the gang, unfortunately, he's already tied to it because once you're in, you're in. There is no kind of leaving. I think he hasn't realized like how dirty and how grimy it is out there in the world. And most likely the people who you call your friends are the ones that are willing to set you up. Do you know what I mean? In terms of kind of getting a get back or trying to feel like they want to bring your star down or something. So that's something I was trying to point out because I feel like there's some correlations there with kind of everyday life. I mean, you just have to keep your head on a swivel. You really have to keep your head on a swivel. But anyway, here's what I know. So next on the list, I want to quickly point this out before we go into it because I want to just tease what I'm going to talk about later, right? So this is obviously taken from the flipping Fire and the Kid subreddit as per usual. It's an excellent fucking screen grab. I'm sure most of you have seen this, right? And this screen grab obviously features the latest episode of the Food Truck Diaries, which is Brendan Schaub's show. And as his guest, he's got Laura Janko, the flipping, fantastic color commentator and just, all around host when it comes to UFC type stuff. And they sit down and doing an interview. The funny thing about it, just looking at it optics wise, right, is how much food Brendan seems to have on his side vis-a-vis how much food Laura Janko has on her side. And the difference is absolutely startling, right? It really is startling, right? And the funny thing about this is I was thinking, just looking at it as general, is that I've been a fat fuck myself, right? My weight has fluctuated up and down over the years. I went to my highest, I think I was like £270, and I'm like, what, 6 foot exactly, which is crazy. To be £270 and 6 foot is just nuts. Plus I like to wear really cool clothes and I'm into fashion and shit, so it didn't really suit me too well because I couldn't wear the stuff that I spend a lot of money on and I really give a shit about. So that was really painful. And then the smallest I've ever been is like 180. So you don't get to £270 being what I am by just eating fucking, by just eating salads. You obviously, you're going to be a bit of a fat shit and you're going to eat burgers at 12. You're going to fucking order out every week or twice a week. You're going to drink all the time. You're going to be just gorging, right? But when I was a fat fuck, I knew I was a fat fuck. When I was a fat fuck, I knew I was a fat fuck. There was no skirting around it. I wasn't on no diet. I wasn't trying to work out. I, at that time, was a fat fuck. So the thing that really makes me laugh about Brendan is that he's like a fat fuck in denial because he keeps saying he's on a diet. He keeps saying he's doing carnivore. He keeps saying he's working out. He keeps saying all these things, but all the evidence that you ever see of him eating points towards somebody who clearly doesn't really, because this isn't an issue. We all are fat fucks. I would destroy that plate if I was given it. True, no problem. But he keeps saying he's working out. He keeps saying he's on a plan. He keeps saying he's running. He keeps saying in the gym. He keeps saying all this stuff. But then all the stuff that he eats is of somebody that doesn't do that. Because if you work out enough, and I know I have, because like I said, at my fattest I was 270. At my smallest I got down to 180. I went down to 180 pounds, which was fucking, it felt amazing. I was able to wear the most incredible things. My cheeks were all sucked in. I had chiseled jaw. I loved it that time. Even though I feel like my optimal kind of walking weight would probably be like 200, 210. But I was able to get down to 180, right? When you're working out and you're losing a lot of weight, I'm not sure some of you guys in the chat will know, when you start seeing the differences, usually stuff like this is kind of hard to get down your throat. You're not going to find it easier to gorge out because you don't want to roll back all the hard work you did in the gym. You don't want to, if you went in the gym for like an hour and you sweated your ass off and it hurt and whatever, and you feel tired and you're sweating, your back's hurting and you have to get on a bus or get on a bike or drive a car home, you don't want to waste all of that hard work you did by eating loaded chips and stuff. You're not going to do it. So when he does stuff like this, I know this is evidence of somebody that doesn't work out as much as they say they do. Because if you work out as much as you say he does, there's no way you're then going to gorge out every time you film fucking Food Truck Diaries. You're not going to do that. You might order yourself a plate of chips just to kind of keep the show going as a kind of decorative thing on the table, so it doesn't look like you're just not eating anything, it's just your guest is. Or you might share a burger, whatever you might do, but you're not going to order a fucking meal. Like, this guy has clearly got chips here, another burger here, where he's cut in half, and clearly another burger here for himself, like 2 burgers and some loaded fries, and that looks like a healthy, like, dad portion. Do you know what I mean? That's a deep basket, right? I mean, that's like something that could feed 2 people, maybe 4, maybe a whole family, especially a Mexican family. Mexican family probably could get a load of this in it. That's a really hacky Mexican joke, but you kind of get what I mean. But so yeah, that's just what I was thinking in general. And then look at Laura Janko's side. that's what you'd probably eat if you was actually on a diet. You'd do that. You'd be like, okay, cool, I'm going to indulge a bit. So I'm going to get a burger. I'm going to eat maybe half of it. I'm going to have a couple of chips for the taste, and that's it. And you're going to eat it really slowly. That's what usually the trick is when you're going to try and lose weight, right? And that's how you end up having a face like that. There may be some work involved in it, but that kind of chiseled face, that shiny, effervescent face, nice, just looking tone, it just looks like, she got the whole world ahead of her. And then you go over here and you see somebody that clearly looks like they've been either injected with fucking Ribena into their face, right? Or something, or clearly have been swimming in fucking vats of fucking whiskey every single day and eating as much as they want. That's what it looks like. And again, it's not an issue because, again, I've been a fat fuck, but it's quite clear that the plates are representative of the man. The man is the plate, right? The plate is the man, and the woman is the plate, and the woman is the plate, right? The plate is a woman, right? You get what I mean? But yeah, I just thought that was interesting just to kind of analyze from the side of it. I really did think it was, man. But I just think that lie is just, what do you guys think about that lie though? What do you guys think about that? Because I really don't understand it still. The whole, like, I'm always on a diet. It's a very, not to be offensive or anything, but it's a very womanly thing. Because you hear women do it all the time, especially like fad diets. Like, I remember my mum doing a diet where she was just. Do you guys remember? I don't know if you guys remember, but there was a time when Beyonce was filming some movie. I forgot which one it was. I think it was one where she was like in a band or something. Beyonce filmed some movie where she was in a band. It was like a musical type thing, and I guess she looked really skinny that time, right? Because the show she had to film this movie that was set in the 50s or something, so she had to get really kind of skinny, like the what you call it? Oh, what they called? Like the Scissor Sisters. She had to look at what's one of those kind of groups, right? The Scissor Sisters from back in the day. Do you guys remember them? The Scissor, C. How do you spell scissor? Jesus Christ, I can't spell scissor. C. Zor sisters. Okay, there you go. I spell it. Yeah. So, do you guys remember the Scissor Sisters? Is that them? Am I talking about? Am I thinking about the same people? No, I'm thinking about the disco. What are they called? The Scissor Sisters. What are they called? Oh my god, I got it wrong, haven't I? It doesn't matter. Anyway, there was a Beyonce movie where Beyonce was in a band and she had to get really skinny, and she went on some diet that I remember all the mums were talking about at the time. I think the diet was like something to do with like potatoes or something. My mum was doing, and I'm again that was not something that was uncommon because my mum was doing it, my aunt was doing it, another family friend was doing it. So I know women have this thing about fad diets, like finding out what the fad thing is and just kind of jumping on it. Even though nowadays guys do it too with like keto, Atkins, paleo, carnivore, but it's definitely a woman thing in terms of like always jumping on fad diets. But I don't find it. I find it quite interesting because Brendan's like a former professional athlete. He got paid to play sports. He played sports at a high. Again, he maybe wasn't as good as you guys think he was. I get it, but he still was paid to be an athlete at one point. So you would imagine all those years of like busting your ass in the gym and stuff and working out, it would leave some residue in terms of you still having a bit of discipline, still knowing how to do some certain things. I know some athletes, even in football, usually when they retire, they just kind of let go because you don't want to be training every day like you were before. You just want to enjoy your life and indulge and do whatever and get bigger and balloon up and stuff. Fair enough, but it's just really strange thing that he does where he's always talking about diets, kind of in he's in denial about what he looks like at the moment, in denial about what he also eats all the time, but then again he's and the diet thing also. The funny thing about it, to end it, I'm starting a lot here, is that it's always unprompted. No one is really checking on his diet. No one asks, oh, hey, how long have you been doing it? How's it going? Are you seeing good effects from it or good results? No one asked him this. It's just him always kind of offering up the information and being first to say, oh, I can't eat that. I'm on carnivore. I'm not doing this. It's like, no one cares really, to be honest, innit? You can eat what you want, get fat, get small, but it doesn't really matter. It's just the fact that you keep talking about it, but you're clearly not doing it. And I was just like, I don't get it. I really don't understand it. It's something that I just can't wrap my head around. But again, none of my business. Anyway, I'm going to quickly drink my coffee before I continue. I'm going to mute myself so I don't slurp. Oh, that is strong. That is strong. That's going to send me to the moon. It's really late here and I'm going to be up for fucking ages. I'm going to mix this with some water. That's going to send me to the fucking moon, man. God damn it. I love a good iced coffee though. And I'm a proper, when it comes to this sort of stuff, I'm a proper basic bitch. I'm a proper like Amy, Lauren, Taylor, Robin with a Y. Yeah, I mean, I'm a proper basic bitch when it comes to that sort of stuff. Like, I've got my scrunchie on, I've got my scrunchie around my sleeve. I'm really happy, go lucky. I mean, I write in gel pens when it comes to this sort of shit. That's who I am. That's fucking who I am. No playing about that one. So just to quickly again point about this, about the thumbnail. So we're just going to continue on because I'm going to give you a little taste and then we're going to move on to some other stuff. So regarding the thumbnail, so this again another picture I've taken from the Frightened Kid subreddit, the best subreddit in the world. Go visit it. This is pretty insane, isn't it? Right? This is pretty insane. So there's, first of all, with me, again, I'm not someone that should be saying anything because I know it sounds a bit weird, but I have a thing about hands anyway. Maybe it's because I've got pretty decent ones myself because I think there's a bit of privilege involved in mine because I have some, they're decent enough in terms of what they look like. But I'm very particular about hands and I have a thing about hands when it comes to people's nails, when it comes to people's just general condition of their hands. I'm one of those dudes that always carries around hand moisturizer. I'm always making sure, especially when you're black, you could always have these little dry parts here. So I'm always making sure these are not dry and stuff. I'm just picky about that kind of thing. And it's always funny whenever you see people, because we're all got different type of hands. You see people with different type of fingers and how they kind of, in how they're shaped, how long they are, or usually the thumbs are always the interesting ones, right? Some people have thumbs that are really short, really long, whatever it may be. But then I remember seeing this quite often a lot, and I remember not knowing what it was all about, right? People that have fingers that look like this. I never could quite work out what it was about. And then I remember one time being on Reddit and having to type in, I think, what I type in? I think it was club nails or something, right? Club or something. Is it club nails? I think so. Something around this. I think this is what it was. Yeah, this is what it is. So it's this shit, allegedly. That's what they say on Google. I'm not sure if this is true, but it's what they say on Google. So they say on Google that this is a clubbing of fingers and toes, right? And this is the following. Clubbing of this, clubbing is changes, get off, move so I can see you. It changes in the area under and around the toenails and fingernails that occur with some disorders. The nails also show changes. The considerations, common symptoms of clubbing. Nail bends or soften, the nails seem to be floated to the firmly attached. The nails form a sharper angle in the cuticle. The last part of the finger maybe appear large or bulging. The nail curves downwards. Yeah, so you get a lot of that kind of down towards weirdness going on there. And the causes are fucking interesting, right? Causes. Lung cancer is the most common cause of clubbing. Clubbing can also occur with heart and lung disease, heart defects, chronic lung defects, infections of the lining of the heart. Other causes include celiac disease, cirrhosis of the liver, whatever this is called, dysentery. What's dysentery? ¿Qué es dysentery? ¿Qué es dysentery? Come on, computer. Tell me dysentery. What is dysentery? No idea. I've never heard of dysentery. Can that load or is my computer going to crash? Oh, it might crash. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Graves' disease, overactive thyroid gland, and other types of cancer. Now, I don't think this dude has any of these things, but it is quite interesting to see this weirdness of the hand thing, innit? But I'm wondering, is this a common thing to do with the thing that's really, I'm wondering, which is really surprising because I feel like the body is fucking amazing, right? In terms of how quickly it can show you how the body's amazing in its ability to kind of display exactly what you're kind of putting in your body quickly. It's not like a short thing. Because the thing that I'm kind of curious about is that from what I know of Brendan, again, I used to be an old T-Fat-K fan, so I'm clued up when it comes to this guy, right? I'm not some like stranger that kind of stumbled upon Brendan because everyone's kind of getting on him because his comedy sucks. I was a fan of the show. I loved the show when it was on Fox. I actually was a fan of their comedy. I thought Bryan was funny. I thought the chemistry was pretty good in the podcast. I enjoyed their interviews, blah, 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 blah. Now, I know that Brendan's only started to drink really heavily in the last few years. Beforehand, when he was on T-Fat-K on Fox and stuff, and maybe before then, he was a person that would always brag about how he didn't need to drink, how he could have fun not drinking, how he didn't understand how all these comedians drink. That's why he was working so hard. That's why he was able to get Showtime specials so quickly. That's why he was getting all these bookings and doing all these tours. That was a thing that he used to kind of use as a kind of bragging points, as a thing to kind of make himself feel better than other people. Then, whenever, I don't know what happened, actually, I do know what happened. I think there was one occasion where he went on JRE, if I'm not mistaken, and Joe Rogan mentioned something that he does. You know, when Joe mentions like he's like comedy set rituals. And I think one of his rituals that he does that he kind of interpreted from Dave Chappelle was that he would sometimes take a hit of a cigarette. Like he would just take one cigarette, take a couple hits of it, and says because he doesn't smoke regularly, the nicotine will kind of hit him really good and kind of get him ready to do a set. And I remember one of the other things he used to say was that before he does a set, Joe Rogan was like he would take a beer and a shot or something. I think that's his common thing. You have a beer and a shot just as it's about to go on. You won't take it to the stage, just as it's about to go on to kind of get him ready and get him kind of in get him in the same mood as everybody else in the room. And I guess for whatever reason, Brendan heard that because I guess he never knew Joe drank. He just assumed Joe was like, not a drinker like he was. And then he started to dabble into the whole whiskey and beer thing. And then obviously he found his way in whiskey. So that was when he started to drink really heavily. Now I'm curious, could you people in the chat, do you think it's possible for the body to show effects of heavy drinking and like poor diet in your nails like that in only the space of like 5 years or so? Like, could you go from having, let me just put my camera, could you go from having somewhat normal quote unquote nails, because my normal nails aren't normal, but whatever, could you go from having those kind of nails to those kind of nails in like 5 years due to just drinking and having a shit diet? Is that possible? What do you guys think in the chat? In 5 years, could that happen? Easily. Okay, people are saying easily. Jesus Christ. Okay, cool. Because that's fucking scary. That is really scary. If the body can really deteriorate to that result. People are saying his face has been swelling. Yeah, sure, true. His face is the obvious one, right? We've got this picture here. His face here is the obvious one. This face is clearly a face of somebody that your face looks like he's retained a lot of liquid in there. That's clearly a face of somebody that drinks a lot. We know that, right? For sure. People are saying, wow. The robot saying for sure. Uche is saying yes. I'm in med school, so Uche said yes. Wow. Okay, cool. Good to know, man. That's why I'm so scared about not getting too aggressive and fucked. It's just a sign of crazy. That's what I'm really cautious about not getting fucked up and shit. Because I think I mentioned it in the podcast that I do. Obviously, make sure you check it out, the AgostinhoZinga show. I mentioned it in the podcast, but I'm actually really looking forward to Sober October this year. I'm really looking forward to it because I think last year or the last time they did it, I kind of missed out. No, I kind of fell short by like maybe the last 4 days or something. I kind of broke, right? And I probably went out and got in when it got fucked. But the last few months, especially, I've been going crazy, right? I've been going out drinking. I've been fucking snorting as many lines as possible, taking as many pills as possible, going absolutely nuts. And obviously, the thing that really hurts me the most is definitely the alcohol. Like, I definitely feel like I can't handle hangovers at all. I think hangovers have killed me now, especially since the pandemic. I feel like the lockdown really kind of killed my ability to drink. I can't drink as much as I did in the past. I can maybe drink when I go to a bar, but I can't do the whole pre-drinking thing. And the pre-drinking thing here in the UK is really big because I think it's the drinks are so expensive. So everybody, before they go out on nights out, we always pre-drink at home. We always drink on the way to the club. Then we drink outside the club, and then we drink in the club, right? So we're always drinking. But I can't drink anymore. So the most thing I can do is basically drugs. And even drugs as well, you can't do that all the time. It costs money, and also it kind of takes away your day. And I end up finding out I've kind of wasted loads of days and stuff. I'm just kind of in bed and all that stuff. So I actually like when I do these things because I've done them before. I've done like Sober January, I've done the whole Sober October thing, and I do them quite often. And sometimes I'll go like, a couple of months not touching anything because it's quite nice to let yourself know that you're not kind of bound by these things. As much as I like to go out and have a party and dance and stuff, it's good to know that they don't have control over you. Like, you can't go to a bar without having a drink. Now, don't get me wrong. Going to a bar without having a drink is horrible. I don't understand how people that are sober can do it because it's the worst. Being around people that are drunk when you're not drunk is fucking horrendous. But it's nice to know that you can do it. And it's nice to know that you also aren't relying on having a drink to have a good time. So I'm really happy that that's happening. So for more I'm saying about Brendan, I also know I have my own issues, and I also know that I'm fucking looking forward to Sober October. I am so happy it's happening. I really am. I can't wait to just have a clean month of doing nothing but just working out, reading lots of books, watching lots of cool documentaries, not being on social media as much because I'm going to probably do that as well and put a little, thing down of like maybe not tweeting or maybe not using my Instagram for the whole 30 days and then just coming back, looking fucking shiny, looking good and seeing how it goes from there. So I'm really, really on it, man. Honestly, I'm really on it. But that's the worst of the wise. If you like your drink, make sure you have a couple of drinks, not too much, because if you have too much, this won't happen to you. Okay, everybody in the chat, listen there, please. Just make sure. I was Uche saying I've stopped partying for 6 months ago. Okay, cool. Congratulations to you, Uche. I wish I could stop, man. I can't. I'm addicted to the rave. I'm addicted to the dance floor, especially me being a fucking wannabe DJ. It's just impossible to kind of get away from that scene. It's just too fun. I'm too tied to it. You know what I mean? My part of my identity is probably wrapped in it as well. There's probably a bit of that as well. 'Cause I feel like if I don't have the rave, then who am I? Who am I? Who am I? There's probably all that shit tied in it as well. But there will probably come a point where I just kind of give it up because it's quite weird to be like in a nightclub with people that could be like, people that could potentially be your daughter and you're like dancing next to them. It can feel a bit weird. You know what I mean? You can feel a little bit creepy when you're in a club surrounded by so many young people and you're like, they're trying to keep up with your fucking old bones. But hey, what can you do? What can you fucking do? What was I saying in chat here? The robot catcher saying, I'm high as Whole Foods. Okay, big up being high as Whole Foods. Big up being high as Whole Foods. What's Koya said, when you stop drinking, the gym gains go up, go away. Yeah, of course. I've done it before, man. There was a time, especially pre 2019, where I was like super into like, I don't know if you guys are familiar with like Tim Ferriss and those guys, right? So Tim Ferriss, human optimization, all that kind of thing. I was on it. I was having supplements. I was like drinking like a glass of red wine with my meat and stuff because it helped to, I don't know, your circadian rhythm and all this shit. I was trying out keto for the first time, all this type of stuff, right? And that's when I was at 180. That's when I was at my lightest. I was literally 180. I'm actually planning to see how low I can get to the end of this year. Let's see what I can do because I've already lost like 20 pounds or so. I'm about 240 now. So I'm really trying to see how low I can get at the end of the year. But when I was 180 back then, I was all on that stuff and I hardly drank. And if I did drink, the thing I noticed when I did drink, when I was really like, clean and straight edge, one beer would get me white girl wasted. I'd be so tipsy off one beer, off one bottle of Beck's or something. It's absolutely insane. It's absolutely insane. What people are saying, I really want to experience a festival sober, and I think it's great to be fun and weird. Now I remember it. Yeah, like I think I mentioned it before in the podcast. I think I've said it many, many times. It's a common story, but I went to fucking Berlin and I went to Berghain sober like 1 year. I think it was like 2017, 2016. I was working for this company, which was fucking crazy, right? They gave me a fucking insane company card. I was able to expense everything and eat like a king and stayed in a really swanky hotel. I was working out there and I went to some conference and I legitimately went to Berlin like sober, like I didn't do anything, zero, did not a thing. I didn't even touch fucking iced tea. I mean, I was just on the water the whole time, and I had a blast. But would I do it again? Obviously not. Do you know what I mean? Because Berlin's a fucking place where everyone's fucking spanged out their mind and high as fuck. But it was nice to know that I could do it. It was nice to know I could go to a place where legitimately you go to the toilet and all you hear is a that's what you hear when you go to fucking toilet, right? No one's fucking pissing or fucking shitting. Everyone's fucking shoving shit up their ass or shoving shit up their nose and shit. So it's nice to know that you can go to the kind of place and just listen to the music, have some chats with people who are super fucked up, help some people get some water here and there. That's what basically I turned into a fucking first aid person in there, because clearly people saw that I was really sober and alert and shit. But it was good to know that I could do it. So I don't know what a festival will be like. If it's a sleeping festival sober, I don't envy you, Uche. Honestly, I couldn't do it. If it's a festival sleeping sober, I would literally shoot myself in the face. But you know, what can you do? Anyway, let's move on. No one wants to hear about all that stuff because then the more you start talking about all that kind of stuff and partying, it's kind of like when you start talking about fast food, you then start to want it. You then start, I could do with a drink. I could do with some. I mean, you start getting a bit crazy. So let's stop fantasizing about all that stuff and concentrate on laughing at these comedians, right? Let's laugh at these fucking comedians. All right, so let's go on. This is an interesting update, courtesy of the Frightened Kids subreddit, as per usual, regarding them kind of responding, or them being Bryan, Callen, and Brendan Schaub on the Frightened Kid, kind of responding to the excellent clip with Nick Swardson when he was on Theo Vaughn, where he basically labeled Brendan Schaub, what do you call him? What do you call him? FIFA Sutherland, right? FIFA Sutherland, because he did, I think, steal the joke that he did in terms of the fajitas. In my opinion, I think so. Because if I remember correctly, that fajita joke was like early on him kind of writing his own material, and he probably thought no one would notice. And then someone did notice, and then he was, Brendan, he's unable to kind of just say, yeah, my bad. He always has to look like the hero of the story, so he's never going to admit it. But I think this response, for me, solidifies that, number one, he definitely did steal the joke. And number two, also solidifies for me that more likely than not, Nick Swardson was the person who was the victim of the C-clamp, the infamous C-clamp story, right? Where allegedly Brendan had to discipline somebody because they were taking a piss out of him too much. We don't know who it is. He never revealed the name of the person, but I do think the person that got C-clamped outside of a comedy club might be Nick Swardson, because he's very funny and he doesn't mind pushing buttons, and he's clearly somebody that enjoys taking a piss out of Brendan Schaub. And of course, Brendan is quite thin-skinned. He doesn't like when people joke about him and make fun jokes about him, all that good stuff. So clearly, I think that he might be the person who did the C-clamp. And his reaction to this whole thing and how he set it up definitely tells me that he was definitely lying and he definitely stole the joke. But anyway, this is Bryan, Callen, and Brendan Schaub commenting on Nick Swardson on Theo Vaughn. He was like, I'm Bryan Callen. I'm gonna beat him up. Oh no! Sorry, I forgot to turn. Sorry, the sounds are on. My bad. Let me put the sound on. I didn't put the sound. My bad. Let's start again. Boom, boom, boom. The sound should be working now.
He was like, I'm Bryan Callen. I'm gonna beat him up when I see him. I'm gonna beat Nick up. We're gonna get him on the podcast. And
by the way, I fucking hate those sandals. Have I told you that before? The fact that this grown man wears fucking sandals with selvage jeans and puts on a t-shirt and a hoodie probably and gets in his car and then has to do this. Like, it's bad enough that he's doing all this shit with his fucking bussy showing, but then he's giving us these fucking, these 1,000 pound elephant sandals. It's absolutely, like, it infuriates me to the nth degree. I fucking hate it. It's so infuriating. Like, it really is. No one could pay me enough. There's not an affiliate link enough that would get me to wear these shits. Legitimately. But this also maybe is proof of where he is in his career, that Bryan Callen, being as talented as he is, somebody as experienced as he is, right, somebody connected as he is, has to rely on these fucking elephant sandals in order to keep the lights on in his house and keep his family fed and shit. That is a sad indictment of the fucking Hollywood industry. That somebody as storied as him, who's put as much work as him, you cannot like him as you want, but just say he put in work, Bryan Callen. He's been around the block. He's fucking, nearly 100 years old or whatnot, right? He probably should be dead too with Queen Lizzie. The fact that he has to wear elephant sandals to feed his kids is fucking sad. It really is sad. It really does look. That's probably the greatest example of why most comedians probably should just focus on podcasts. Forget trying to be a stand-up comedian. Forget trying to be the next Dave Chappelle. Just get your own fans to support you in a podcast. Have a cool little Patreon. Make some cool content. Do shows. Go on tour. Forget trying to make it in Hollywood, because if Hollywood decides to spit you out because they don't like you or because you cancelled or whatnot, you're going to have to promote elephant sandals. You're going to have to go on your podcast and spread your legs out like that, right? Like some tart. Get your bussy out, get your old man bussy out with your fucking sandals on. That's what's in store for you. If you're a comedian and you focus on trying to be the next Dave Chappelle. Because if you get cancelled, you're fucked.
He's going, I'm Bryan Callen. Nick Swardson, one of my favorite people in the world.
He's the best.
I love him. And then he's called you Thiefer McSutherland,
which is hilarious. Remember when he was on the Find the Kid back in the old studio, and he roasted us. He said I look like an Italian Lego.
He's so good. Nick is the great. I just talked.
He's the funniest guy of all time.
I just talked to him recently. He's doing some movie, but I love him, and he is truly one of the funniest people on the planet.
Well, I have the clip here.
So let's set it up with the clip, especially.
Yeah. Now look. This is where the salt comes in. This for me is a clear indication that Brendan definitely stole the joke because of how angry he reacts. Because if you didn't do something that people are accusing you of, you don't just say, "Oh, fuck you and fuck your mother. Here's why I didn't do it." You say, "Hey, man, why would you think I'll do something like that? I would never do that. This is what I meant. I meant this. I meant that. Here's my example. I don't know why you'd think that, man. You should have come and spoke to me." You're gonna try to make them understand where you're coming from, or you're gonna try and meet them. You're gonna try and appeal to their better nature. You're going to try and diffuse the situation. You're going to try and do something that makes you look as if like you clearly didn't do it. But when you did do the thing, you usually respond with anger because you feel like anger proves that you don't care or proves that you're nonchalant, but really it proves that you did the thing. So listen to the language that Brendan uses when he's kind of trying to set up the fact that he might have stole this joke.
For the people listening, so it's a clip of Nick Swardson and Theo Von talking. The title says Nick Swardson and Brendan Schaub both like fajitas. Yeah. So there's been, bottom dwellers being like, oh.
See? He called us and people that maybe pointed out that he might have stole that for fajita joke, bottom dwellers. Now, from what I understand of stand-up comedians, the whole parallel thinking thing is pretty real, especially nowadays with everybody being on podcasts and people talking to each other constantly, and people watching the same bits of news and being on the same social media platforms and having the similar-ish type algorithms. It's inevitable you're going to stumble across a joke or a reference or a premise that other people have kind of done. And plus, comedy is comedy, isn't it? It's not that serious. Someone else has probably done your premise somewhere else. It happens all the time. But usually you understand that could happen. So it's not like a big deal if you do accidentally copy someone. You might ring them up and say, "Hey, I've got this joke. Would you mind if I continue, if I tweak it? Or is it okay if we can still do it together? Or no, if we could each do it or someone has to drop it, whatever it may be." But it's not that big of a deal, really. Even if fans point it out. Case in point, when Mark Norman got accused of copying that comedian's joke and he completely ripped him a new one, but in a really funny way. I didn't sense Mark Norman being sinister or angry. He was just like, how could you think I would copy you? You're fucking you're not really that well known anyway, but let me just have fun with it. It was just him being funny and taking the piss out of it. But the fact that Brendan will call us as bottom dwellers, for me, proves that he did steal the joke.
Both like fajitas. Yeah. So there's been, bottom dwellers being like, oh, Schaub stole a bit from Nick Swardson. He must have done a special on, I don't know, about fajitas.
And again, this whole Jess is saying that, nah, Jess, I don't take that. Jess said, Nick was on field 9 days ago and you and I made videos about this a couple of days ago. I think they're oppressed. You know what, Jess? I don't think that highly of myself, my dear. I think probably they might be watching you, but I generally don't think that highly of myself. And also, I don't know, Jess, just to be honest, right? This is a kind of the Christian and the Catholic in me. I'm such a former fan of these guys. I wouldn't want them to see and hear what I say and change anything they do based on what I say. I would think that'd be so beneath them that they would move or change the way they talk or reply to something that I said. Like, who the fuck am I to be telling them what to do? They've got their careers. They're pretty much sorted. They're doing great things. They've got fans, blah, 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 blah. Like, why should they be listening to me? It'd really hurt my feelings if I find out they were actually listening to me. It would really be sad. Like, really? You guys are that low down that you have to listen to me to get feedback and tell us what you're doing? That would be sad to see. So I hope that's not happening. I hope they're just like, you know, being their kind of detached, divorced from reality selves, but I don't want them to be sitting there. Because imagine the thought of Brendan and Bryan sitting down watching fucking Uniques and getting annoyed about what he says and pressed and trying to make videos. Like, that would be so, you wouldn't want to hear that. That's sad. Same if you heard Joe Rogan replying to something that I said, like, what? Why is she replying to him? Like, they should be above it. Like, they shouldn't be doing that. They should. That's what I said. This kind of stuff is for us. That's why I've never in my life left a comment on those guys' videos. I've never in my life left a comment on those guys' videos. A negative comment. I've never in my life went on their Instagram to leave a comment. I don't engage in them whatsoever. I've never sent these guys a DM. I don't give a fuck. I don't want to talk to them. I've had people offer me, oh, you interview them. I don't care. I don't have anything. I don't give a shit. Right. And I think it's better that we exist here laughing at them and they exist over there making their fans laugh. I think that's a good sort of balance. I don't think we should try to like mingle. I don't want to mingle. You know what I mean? And I honestly, it would crush my heart if I find out they watch me. I'd be like, you guys watch me? You guys are touring. You guys are going on tours, allegedly, right? Tours where you stay somewhere for like 2 days. Okay, tour, right? Or you play in 2 clubs. You're going on tours. You got merch. You're fucking meeting fans. You know, you're going on Joe Rogan. Why are you listening to me? But who knows? Let's call it.
And I had a bit on fajitas, and remember, my girl's Mexican, right? So
yeah, but you wrote a lot of food, Mexican food jokes.
Yeah, a ton of them.
Oh yeah, look how they're bragging about this. You have a lot of Mexican food jokes. Yeah, Mr. Hacky Mahakason over here. That's not a good thing. That's not a good thing. My wife is Mexican, and there's nothing Mexican about you. That's the thing about Brendan's also interesting in this. I've got my theory that secretly Brendan hates his Mexican family. Only because, like, he can't speak the language. They're clearly, you know, very Mexican where they speak Spanish in the house all the time. The mum is always there. The probably granddad is there. Other family members are there. And he's the only, like, quote unquote American dude in there, English speaking person, sorry. And he clearly can't say a lick of any Spanish. Maybe he can say hello or something, or cerveza or something, right? No, but nothing else. And I think that he'd kind of despise that, especially younger kids coming up to him speaking Spanish and fucking around and shit. So it's one thing if you're kind of being hacky and you're like being the kind of guy who respects Mexican culture. That's one thing. But he doesn't respect the culture. He doesn't like them at all. So the jokes come off a little bit like him complaining that he's got a Mexican wife and family. So it's even worse hacky. It's kind of like a vengeful hacky, like, oh fuck, I can't believe I fell in love with this woman who's Mexican and this is what they do and they've got fucking salsa cookies and it's like, what? Yeah, I don't know. To frame your whole identity around I'm a white guy who's married to a Mexican woman is fucking weird. I think so. And I'd imagine if some Mexican woman would get a bit offended because that's a bit like you're fetishizing them, innit? Or something. I don't know. It's a bit strange. It's strange, it's hacky, it's weird, it's gross.
So the fajitas, when I was saying how embarrassing it is, like ordering bottle service at the club, like when you order fajitas, like out, and you're like, geez, like it's embarrassing. Yeah. Like everyone
Steve Byrne has a joke
and watches you, I'm sure. So I do, it's not a special anything. I do that bit at the Comedy Store. I wrote it, I don't know, right before I went on, right? So I do that bit maybe 3 times, and then some fan was like,
I love this whole like thing he does too about I wrote it before I went on. That's a very interesting line he's starting to do a lot now. You hear him saying that a lot. I wrote it in the back, I wrote it. No, you don't. We know you don't write a lot of jokes. You just do the same ones and tweak them. I don't know. I honestly don't think there's anything wrong. Even though I don't like his comedy, I don't think there's anything wrong with it. I don't think there's anything wrong with just having really base level, hacky, kind of frat boy type comedy and just owning up to it. But this, he wants to be everything. He wants to be the kind of, the one that does like fratty storytelling comedy stuff. He wants to be Hacky McHackerson. He also wants to be the writer guy who's sitting there kind of coming up with bits on the fly. You have to pick a lane, man. Pick one. Just pick one and stick with it. It's okay. Like, he'd probably be far funnier if he just stuck with one thing and just said, hey, I'm going to be the kind of relatable bro kind of comic. Here's my jokes about fucking, oh man, I was drinking a fucking Four Loko the other day. Huh? Crazy, right? Crazy Four Loko. I needed 2 of those and I was gone. Not 4. You know, that kind of shit. Like, I don't know. What do I know?
oh, that's like Nick Swardson's bit. I go, Nick has a fajita bit? He goes, yeah. And this is what people don't realize. The comedy community is pretty tight-knit. We all know each other. So all I do is...
I love that kind of insinuation. Like, we all know each other. You don't know us. Shut up. You can't have a comment on this. All they want you to do, as a fan, especially if you're a fan of them, all they want you to do is they want you to consume, view, and attend. They don't want you to give them any feedback. No feedback, no commentary, no suggestion, nothing. Consume, view, and attend. That's it. That's all you're good for. You're just good for extracting money from them. Whether it's visually by watching their stuff and adding their AdSense, going to their shows, buying tickets, buying merch. But anything else, they don't want to hear from you. They're above you. Even though they need you to go to shows, because I always say it before, comedians for the most part appeal to working class people or middle class people. You're not going to get the best and the brightest of people over there because they're busy being, better and brighter. So you're getting just regular folk who just want to tap out a couple of hours in the evening and go eat some chicken fingers and, talk to some girls or hang out with their wife and their friends. But then they look down on you and tell you can't comment on what they do. It's funny.
Nick is a friend that's texting and go, hey man, heard you have a fajita bit. I have a new bit that I wrote about fajitas. You have a fajita bit? He goes, I have something like it. What's your premise? I go, fajitas, how embarrassing it is when you order fajitas. It's sizzling. It's like ordering bottle service at the club. He goes, not exactly like mine. I can see how people see it. I went, all good, not going to do it anymore.
I've done that so many times. I had a T-Rex joke and there was a...
That's a good point someone said here, Coiler. What was it said? No, or Keith McLeod said as well. The punchline goes nowhere. It's a sound effect. It's true, innit? It doesn't go anywhere. Okay, fajitas is like ordering bottle service at a club. Okay, mildly funny. But where does it go? It just doesn't, it's just, okay, the effects, the sparkles, but what is the punch here at the end? Nothing. It's just, okay, this is like, but that's, to be fair, that's what his comedy is like, isn't it? That thing is like, I was like, he was like, she was like, they did, but there's no like punch. It's just like,
I did a T-Rex joke and I realized it was just too close. So it used to kill. I stopped doing it. And by the way,
I'll never worry about rap.
I had seen it.
Anyway, you get the point. I don't want to fucking hear Bryan kind of pontificating, acting as if he's fucking, I don't know, comedian of the year. We know. We get it, brother. We get it. Oh, let's quickly play this clip because I think this clip is hilarious. And just in case I don't get to the whole thing, because I want to watch the Food Truck Diaries, but just in case I don't get to it, I want you to play that. I want to play this clip, right? I think it's fucking hilarious. So, Brendan obviously did Food Truck Diaries recently, or just the other day, obviously with Laura Janko. Laura Janko, sorry, not Lauren, Laura Janko. And it's a pretty good one from what I've seen because she's really bubbly. She's really fun. She's a fucking beast in terms of UFC, in terms of interviewing and commentating and stuff, which is interesting as well. Cause I was wondering when I was watching her, do some interviews with fighters and stuff and be color commentary, just be like a good little presence around there. Cause I think she's way better than Megan O'Leary personally for me. I think she just has a bit more spunk, a bit more spirit, a bit more zazazim about her. But I was thinking as well, is it just because she's like a pretty woman and she's just open-eyed and face and stuff and she kind of invites people in terms of like her face and her presence? She's very kind of warm, you can tell. Maybe it's the kind of mum energy she's got. I wonder if that kind of helps a lot with these sort of interviews with, that kind of person working in an environment at the UFC where you're like surrounded by like killers, right? You're surrounded by all these like big burly guys and stuff. Maybe they do need to kind of be made to feel a little bit, like you're at home, like it's a familiar face. Like she could be like a friend's mum, a friend's sister. Do you know what I mean? Like somebody you've kind of seen before, maybe somebody you worked with in the past, maybe a girl you went to high school. I mean, I wonder if that kind of plays into it if you're a presenter. Does that kind of play into it? Like when you're in that kind of sport, am I kind of thinking, or am I being GAY and clearly showing that I was maybe wanking under a table or something? I don't know. Maybe I'm thinking too much about it. But anyway, she's really good at it. She's really good. Oh yeah, and also she fought too. So I guess that kind of helps because she's obviously been there. She's kind of done the dance, right? So maybe that kind of adds to it. And I guess if you're a fighter too, there's that instant respect. Okay, she's been in the wars too. She knows what it's like to cut weight. She knows what it's like to fucking do 2 a days, to do camp in general. Like, okay, maybe that's the reason. But anyway, regardless, she's really good. This interaction, for me, is legit one of the most funniest and most awkwardest things I've ever seen in my life. And again, shout out to Homeless Cats and the Fire and the Kid for clipping this up, right? So they're sitting down after having a little power outside, which is one of the weirdest things about Food Truck Diaries. the whole premise I thought about Food Truck Diaries that makes it interesting is the fact that there's a food truck there, that you're taking all these UFC fighters and you're kind of, who go on crazy weight cuts, who go on crazy camps so they can't eat certain things, crazy diets and stuff, and then to kind of treat them off the back of a win or whatever it may be, here's a food truck. And the whole idea about a food truck is that you eat it standing up, or you eat it maybe sitting on some plastic chairs, like kind of like, No Reservations, or like Anthony Bourdain style, where he goes and travels to different places. So I always thought it was strange where you do a food truck and then you go back to a studio to go sit down and eat. But anyway, it doesn't matter. They go into the studio, they're sitting down, and this is just them sitting down, getting ready to eat and stuff, and continue the conversation. Maybe you think there's a different part of the interview where they're going to continue, maybe diving deep into some more things. And for some reason, it's turned into this really awkward exchange. Even though they've had what you describe as like icebreaker outside the food truck, for some reason it starts to get awkward when they sit down in the studio. I don't know if it's because they weren't with any people, it wasn't many people in the studio, it was just them alone, but something happened. The energy changed from how they were outside and how they got inside. Because outside it seemed quite fun, then it gets inside it was really awkward and kind of tense. It's just hard to describe, but let's just watch it and you can see what I mean.
It's a high bar.
I don't know if you know this about me, but I actually sold beef for a while. So.
Oh, you used to sell beef?
Yeah, I would sell it.
Like full cows?
Mine's upside down, but yeah.
I'd probably blame that on the handlers.
I wouldn't sell like the entire side of beef. I actually would process it up and.
Oh damn!
Yeah.
Was that a good gig? I feel like it'd be a good gig in Kansas City.
Not really. There's no money in food. It was a passion, a hobby.
Sorry. What I said doesn't matter anyway. Let's just continue. It doesn't matter.
It's a passion project. Here's the thing about cow. I do eat beef. It's my favorite food. I'm carnivore diet usually.
Again, uninvited, without provocation, without invitation, without being prodded. Hey, here's me, carnivore guy. We don't need to know. We don't give a fuck.
So I eat a ton of red meat, but cows are fucking cute.
They are.
God, they're cute.
It's really hard, especially when we have bottle calves that either lose their mom or the mom doesn't accept.
Okay, so this is where it starts to get awkward, right? She's talking about something like an interesting sort of tidbit about her, right? Because again, this is Food Truck Diaries, but it's also a show about Laura Janko, right? So she's going on there to promote herself. So clearly this little tidbit that she's offering up is opportunity to maybe dive deeper into another aspects of her life that maybe people don't know about, right? Oh, I used to sell meat. I used to work in a butcher's. I used to work on a farm. You could talk about factory farming. You could talk about the effects of an environment. Talk about the craziest things you've seen. Did you chop a finger off? Whatever. Just get into some interesting stuff that can maybe delve deep and kind of uncover stuff that people have maybe not heard about her outside of maybe her fighting and her being good at interviews. But then it turns into this weird thing where he's kind of staring at her in a way that he might think that she's the burger. And I guess women have this thing where they have an internal kind of sense of when somebody's giving them the I want you to sit on my face look or something. Because she then says something that usually is a sign that the woman kind of is not really sure what your intentions are. She's just trying to, make sure that you know what time it is, putting the hand out relax. Because it gets really weird here. It gets really weird. He's staring at her hard, hey, if you sit in my face right now, I'd put this burger down. Do you know what I mean? Let's continue.
And then you form a relationship. It's easier when it's just a herd and I'm moving them and we just call them by their number.
Yeah.
And we don't generally eat the ones that we have at our place, but every once in a while, sometimes my husband's vicious.
You see? You see what she said there? Look at that. How long was that? That was what? How long was that? That was maybe 5 seconds? He didn't break eye contact, right? The whole time. Look. He didn't break eye contact. Look. I'm gonna take this off of. Hold on. I'm gonna take this off of Zoom, off a thing, so you guys can see this properly. Because he didn't break eye contact the whole time. He didn't break eye contact, and I'm gonna prove to you. I'm gonna zoom into it because you can see it. So we watch it on the Reddit, right? Let's see. I'll show you. Look. Let's what this is so we can zoom into it properly, right? Look. There they are, right? There's Big B. Look at her. We're gonna play it. She's gonna be talking, right? and you're not going to see him move at all.
Easier when it's just like a herd and I'm moving him and we just call them by their number.
Yeah.
And we don't generally
Hasn't
eat
looked
the
away.
ones that we have at
Hasn't
our
looked away.
place,
Hasn't
but
looked
every
away.
once in a while.
Hasn't
My
looked
husband's
away.
vicious with it.
See, and then she says husband. And for like 5 seconds. Let's rewind this so I can see what she looked like when he was looking at that long. Let me see what she looked like. Because, oh my God, man. Where is it here, right? Let's go back to about here. I want to see what Laura looked like when she was talking. Because I think her eye, yeah, I knew it straight away. Her eyes definitely darted around a bit more. Look at where her eyes are. Look where her eyes are already. Just starting the conversation. She's looking down. Let's see where she goes. Until she says my husband.
Formal relationship. It's easier when it's just like a herd and I'm moving him and we just call them by their number.
Yeah.
Eyes
we
moved.
don't generally eat the ones that we have at our place. But
Eyes
every once in a
moved.
while.
Sometimes
My husband's
it's like-
vicious.
There we go again. See? She was not holding eye contact as much as he was at all. He definitely thought she was one of those burgers, mate. He definitely thought, you know what? I'm going to put one down. I'm going to put one of these beef burgers down and I'm going to... Yeah, it's too early to say that, but you know what I mean. Jesus Christ. This guy. Surely, again, I love Laura Janko, right? Pretty lady, warm lady, cool lady. But surely living in LA, you must see many women that look like that live in LA. So why would you be that thirsty when you're doing an interview? Can someone tell me, why would you be that hungry doing an interview? Surely there are plenty of women that look like Laura Janko, that have that blonde, middle America kind of cutesy face. There could have been a teacher, there could have been a whatever, I don't know, whatever. There must be some of them. Why is he so stunned? She might be more stunning in real life, maybe. That's probably why he's so stunned. I don't really know. But the fact that she says my husband in this interview, I feel like to me is a good indication that he was maybe staring too hard. And again, for men, if someone says this to you, my husband or my boyfriend, especially in interaction, or you're trying to hit or something, usually it's a sign that they're kind of getting creeped out. Not from experience, because, I don't creep people out, but I'm just saying.
And we don't generally eat the ones that we have at our place, but every once in a while.
Sometimes
My husband's
like,
vicious with it too.
Is he? But did he grow up in that culture?
Yeah.
And look him trying to pretend like he's cool with it. Did you grow up in the culture? You don't care about the husband. If she pulled her knickers down right now, you'd be in it, mate. You'd be in it. Come on, you don't care about her fucking husband.
Yeah, it's something you gotta grow up.
Like, you know what you're eating right
Look. See? Now she mentioned husband. Look at that. He turned away. That was an international sign of like, okay, husband talk. Fuck that. I'm back in the burger now. You know what I mean? This is you know what this is like? This is like the equivalent of the alleged story with like fucking Kalila and Brendan. He tried to holler, tried to get her to come around the house or jump in his truck during New Year's Eve or Christmas or whenever it was. She said no. He's like, okay, cool. Back home to my family then. You know? That's the reason. She's Kalila. This is the family. Hey, interested? Let's talk. Eye contact. Husband talk. Okay, I'm out. Burger. Let's continue.
Is he? But did he grow up in that culture?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's something you gotta grow up.
Like, you know what you're eating right now.
Yeah, that's Betsy.
Yeah.
That night, Betsy slept in the bed next to us.
Right.
We nursed her back to health.
Right.
I shot Betsy in the face. Savage.
Yeah,
I mean, hey, man.
Yeah, she's not impressed. I generally think, especially in a small industry like UFC, especially in a small industry like LA, it is quite advantageous to have female friends that you don't want to fuck. Or even if you do want to fuck them, you just try and keep your fucking first levels undercover, under wraps. You don't need to, I know some people say it's different, but I don't believe you have to be flirty to have a good conversation with with somebody that's opposite sex. You don't need to have that. You can still have a very cordial kind of sort of interview that maybe relies on both of your expertise and maybe just your overall chemistry as people, but it doesn't always have to be like, oh shit, I'd fuck you. Do you know what I mean? It doesn't need to be that kind of energy. It really doesn't. It's not needed, to be honest. I don't think so. Especially, again, working in small industries, you should be able to kind of be able to put that thing to the side so everyone feels comfortable and shit. But I don't know. Some people are just always on. You know what I mean? They're just always fucking attention. So I guess it's different. Oh, but big up Laura Janko, man. She fucking held it down, man. Big up, big girl. I don't know how she did it, but she did. She held it fucking down. Next one, I want to quickly talk about here is this. This clip courtesy of Tim Dillon's podcast, that kind of enraged me, right? And I feel like it enraging me is probably a good sign that I should be trying to chase the things I want to do in terms of my career and what I actually want to do in my kind of everyday life, right? I shouldn't be trying to, what do you call it? I shouldn't be trying to, someone said chat, was that Shane Jr.? Random and off topic, any advice for aspiring brand new rookie DJ? I think I mentioned it before, maybe I've got a video coming out about it before. There is no advice really to give. I think when it comes to DJing, similar to like stand-up comedy and shit, you just have to go out and do the thing. You have to go out and practice a lot. You have to practice a lot, make lots of mixes, record yourself playing, take that video of you recorded playing, cut it up into clips, upload that onto your Instagram, make a maybe separate DJ Instagram, share that around places, comment in different places, immerse yourself in the community, maybe go on Reddit and start getting involved in there, start commenting on people's posts, whatever it may be, like just try and get your name out there, email loads of clubs that you think you want to play at and send them like your mixes and demos. It's just the standard things you heard. There is no cheat code. And there is no kind of path to follow. It's just the common things, and then you don't know what's going to hit. It may be a stream that hits. You might end up emailing someone, you get lucky. You might end up going to a party and bumping into somebody. You don't know what's going to hit for you, but the only advice I'd say is just keep mixing, keep playing, keep recording, keep uploading, keep sharing. There is no cheat. There is no shortcut in this shit. You just have to keep going with it. And I think I've kind of come to that realization myself, to be honest. There are no cheat codes. There are no shortcuts around it. It's just a whole bunch of work. And sometimes it may not even pay off. That's a really crucial thing that a lot of these guys don't talk about. They'll say, oh yeah, you should start your thing, do your podcast, start your fucking business, making fucking homemade furniture and shit. But what they don't tell you is that it may not work out, but that's not the problem. The point isn't it working out. The point is you chasing your dream. That's the main thing. The fact that you chased it, and even if it doesn't work out, you've still got a fucking cool story to fucking tell someone at the bar. Oh, I invested a bunch of money in a restaurant. It didn't work out. I was fucking a useless boss. I tried to make this whiskey thing. I tried to make a book, whatever it may be called. You've got an interesting story to tell. I think that's always an interesting part. And obviously you've lived a life worth living too, because you chased a dream and you haven't gone to your grave regretting things. So forget trying to make it. Have fun. Do as much as you can. And if you do end up making it along the way, you're Gucci, man. You're Gucci, all right? Anyway, back to the show. So this thing on Tim Dillon really intrigued me and really kind of pissed me off and kind of showed me everything I kind of needed. Luke from Zinga Rockhold. Fuck you. Fuck you, Mo. Luke Rockhold. Luke Zinga Rockhold. That's hilarious. Luke just be saying shit, right? Luke just be saying stuff, going around in circles, not really making points. Anyway, go fuck yourself. Anyway, continue. So, this clip taken from Tim Dillon's podcast, really funny and interesting, with Paul Verzi, where they kind of speak about how reckless they were when it came to fucking COVID and how they weren't taking restrictions seriously and how just living their lives. It fucking pissed me off because there's a lot of revisionist history in this, because now, we're post-COVID now. People don't care about restrictions. People have maybe, eyes have opened in terms of what the truth is behind all the preventative stuff we were doing in terms of wearing masks and wiping down our groceries and social distancing and lockdowns. We're all kind of more aware of the situation, right? And the CDC isn't as powerful as a force in our lives anymore. No one talks about fucking Fauci anymore, all that good shit. So maybe it's different. But let's still remember, these fucking stand-up comedians, right? These fucking cunts, for some reason, at the peak of COVID, legitimately thought, right, that we were desperate to see them perform on stage, to the point where they were going out on tour, flouting all the rules, putting people into places, spreading COVID all around places. I mean, indirectly killing probably a bunch of fucking people. Imagine the amount of bodies they must have on their hands, right? Let alone the victims of any kind of other assault that they may have on their books. They've all got all these fucking bodies off the back of COVID. And they legitimately thought that they were like crucial parts of the economy, that they had to be on the stage doing what they're doing. It's really an incredible example of hubris, an incredible example of fucking arrogance to think that you are that crucial. And again, remember, this is peak COVID. This is COVID when we didn't know what was going on. We were seeing all those videos of people in China getting thrown into fucking to back of like freezers and shit, and people's door. I remember there was a video I saw once of this kind of building, this apartment block somewhere somewhere where these Chinese health officials were going around with tape and literally boarding people up in their fucking houses, like insane, taping them up, in their houses and stuff. There were drones going around telling people to stay inside. People getting sprayed down with fucking antibacterial spray like they were a fucking piece of machinery. It was absolutely crazy. So at that time, these motherfuckers literally thought, no, I have to get on the stage and tell my fucking shitty dick joke. That's the most important thing. And now they're trying to laugh and joke about it. So it fucking enraged me. It really did. But let's continue. This is the video clip. So it's to Tim Dillon and Paul Verzi, episode number 314.
Thankful about that.
That's awesome.
Check it out, man. It's getting great reviews, and I'm really happy. I was working hard, and luckily I got COVID early.
Yeah.
Because getting
You
COVID,
got COVID like,
Dude,
you were like patient zero.
Dude, I joked. I said I got COVID like I was waiting for an album to drop. Like I was online at midnight for PlayStation 5.
Yeah.
I got COVID.
And then you just basically like coasted for the next 2 years, like unafraid.
And yeah. And then
you were like immunity, who gives a fuck?
Well, yeah. And then 5 months after, when the world was shut down, I was like, all right, now let's go to the states that really don't believe in COVID.
Right.
So
and that's what we did.
Yeah.
We went on tour that whole time. I wonder, to be honest with you, I wonder in our lifetimes if there will ever be a more interesting time to do stand-up than when we did it. Like during that era.
And I think me, you, Brett Ernst, and maybe a couple of other people were out. Like
we were out.
No, like I was like, people were like, dude, are you tour? Like, is this your tour?
We were out like it wasn't happening. Yeah, we were out like it didn't exist.
Yeah, we were out. I was in Texas. I was in Arizona, Florida, all those places.
100%.
And again, most of it, let's be honest, most of it was greed. Most of it was just they wanted the money and they liked the attention. Because I think, to be fair to them as well, let's be fair to current comedians, right? If you spend your entire career building yourself up to a point where you're able to get booked in certain places, people come to see you, they buy tickets and shit, and you essentially get all these dopamine hits of like performing on the stage in front of a live crowd every single weekend, sometimes 5 days a week, sometimes 6 days a week if you're really diligent, it can be hard to kind of let it go. It can be difficult, especially when people are telling you to let it go, especially if you're not sure about the virus, especially if you're skeptical, especially if you're a cynic, all these sort of things. So I get it, especially if, and again, being a grown-up adult and you've got that kind of attention, it's probably hard to kind of turn it down. But a lot of these guys, especially the main guys I mentioned, not maybe the other guys you mentioned, but some of the other guys who were going on tour, they all had successful podcasts. They all were making, decent amounts of money online and shit. I wouldn't say there was no need to go on tour, but it wasn't like they were down to like nothing. I mean, they had the ability to make some money, but still, it wasn't enough, needed more. So it was definitely more of sort of a greed thing, in my opinion. Less over like, I need to express myself. I've got this burning desire to tell jokes. It's like, no. You just wanted to collect the coins. It is what it is, but let's be honest.
And I was doing it every week.
Yeah.
And some comics were like, obviously, I don't think they were talking about I don't know who they're talking about.
Right.
But yeah, these comics who have like full schedules, like, that's responsible. And it's like, nobody's booking you.
Right. You're not giving up anything.
You're not.
There was that's funny, but there were some people who legitimately did give up bookings because they didn't feel like it was responsible to go out and tour in the middle of a fucking global pandemic. And I guess this is the point where you just kind of wonder for society in it, because these kind of people, there's never going to be a pandemic for them, especially now. Most people who are kind of skeptical, there's never going to be a pandemic that they're going to ever take seriously because of how fucked up and how dodgy the whole COVID thing was dealt with, right? But in general, they don't really take it seriously anyway because they always kind of look after number one. It's quite selfish, and there is no altruism involved there, right? There is no kind of thinking about your fellow man. There is no greater good. It's just me and myself and my family, which is probably why COVID lasted as long as it did, because especially parts in Western Europe, especially here in the UK, we had the same sort of thing. People couldn't band together and kind of agree on one thing because fundamentally people disagreed on the very nature of the virus. What did it exist? Was it real? Do you remember the early parts of COVID when people were fucking making, especially Black Twitter, I don't know why, on Black Twitter there was this movement where people were making broths with like lemons and like apples and shit to drink so you could avoid getting COVID. Do you remember that? That was a big thing. There was a half of the population that were wiping down their groceries. Half the population weren't leaving their houses. Half the population were wearing those fucking stupid screens in front of their faces, plastic screens, as if that was going to do anything. Like, people were wearing rubber gloves when they were going to shop and stuff. It was like so bizarre, right? So there were people that were literally raw dogging prostitutes in the streets, and then there were people who were wearing rubber gloves and shields in their face. I mean, you're never going to get them to agree. So it's what it is.
Callen and Schaub went out early and they got sick.
Yeah.
And then they had to post, hey, if you shook my hand in the meet and greet. And that was funny because it's like, wait, you did a fucking meet and greet? Like that was like the next level of like, wait a minute, what?
And you know what's funny? That's true. Because at the time when Brendan and Bryan were going out touring, I don't think any of us were under any sort of illusion that other comedians were doing it. They were just a bit more smarter. They weren't posting it. They weren't fucking doing stories about their tour. But, you know, those guys are addicted to the fucking attention and the likes and the tweets and whatnot, especially Brendan, who says he doesn't read comments. But they weren't doing all that stuff. They were going to flipping comedy club and just performing and then leaving. But they're making sure they'll collect their money to, you know, make sure their family is fed and shit. They got a roof over their heads. But those guys did the extra step. They did shows in COVID. They promoted them super hard. They spread COVID all around the place. And then they also did meet and greets during peak pandemic. Peak pandemic. Again, this is not people, remember, this is not like 2021 pandemic. This is like 2020. Like maybe like early 2020, late 2019 kind of pandemic times where everyone's nervous and scared. These guys are doing fucking meet and greets. Like shit.
So that made a lot of people start going like, what the fuck? You're doing comedy and you're doing a meet and greet. But it was like, listen, the way I looked at it was like this. Listen, I was like, you know, I've done comedy now. I started in like 2010, like late 2010. So I was like, listen, I'm doing it a very long time.
You're 13 years in.
13 years in.
Wow.
I was like, I finally have some people that want to come see me.
Yeah.
I've been on the road a very, very long time. And I'm taking every precaution. And just knowing a little bit about viruses, you knew basically.
Come on, say it, Timmy. Say it. You just wanted the money. That's why I like this guy, because he's honest. He's usually quite self-aware. Come on, just say it. You worked really hard. You busted your ass to have a career. You finally got some traction, and you weren't about to let some fucking Chinese virus put a pause on your trajectory to keep continuing making that money, to sharpening your skills and performing. Just be honest. Come on. And the money was good. Come on, just say it.
You know, this wasn't there was no way this was going to be preventable.
No.
People were going to get it.
Yeah.
People were going to get it.
You know what I don't like though now, Tim?
Yeah.
Is that now they're coming out going, the truth is, the real truth is, if it wasn't an N95 mask, it kind of didn't, like if you had a
That's dumb though, because we always knew that. I don't know if Americans didn't know that, but it was a common thing here in the UK. Everyone knew that N95 mask or the other one, what was it, K90 something? Those are the only ones that actually would stop you from getting COVID. But the idea behind the other mask, the kind of face mask or the whatever, if you wore like a snood, it was just some level of protection. It wouldn't stop anything potentially, but that's the thing I never really understood about COVID. Again, I was not going to go over COVID talk because it's fucking boring. But I never understood why the people who were against the COVID measures, like the mask and the physical distancing and all that shit, they wouldn't do it just because it wasn't like it wasn't 100% foolproof. It didn't offer 100% protection. Just because the face mask doesn't offer 100% protection doesn't mean you don't do it. It's going to offer some protection. Do you know what I mean? I don't know, but maybe again, it wasn't their fault. Maybe it's just always the messaging around COVID. Because I think some people sold it as like, if you wear a mask, you're never going to get it, which is obviously not true. But we're going to look back around that whole time and just think, what were we thinking, man? What were we thinking? What were we thinking?
Cloth mask.
It was fake.
It was fake. And
Well, remember the hand sanitizer? Remember all the things we did, wiping down packages, all that shit, and then we realized, oh, none of that worked. That's not how it spread. We don't have to fucking wipe down all of this shit.
No. The thing, I think similar to what someone said here, Yeti Machete says, and K95 only work if everyone's wearing them. This is what he's saying also, which I think. These measures only work if everyone's doing them. If everyone else is, it's like that, what's that adage? That common adage of like, if I sweep my front garden leaves, then maybe my neighbor will see me doing it and then he'll sweep theirs too. But if you go around each person's house and start saying sweep their leaves, no one's going to do it. So you have to kind of lead by example, help people follow your example too. So back in pandemic times, if everybody was wiping down their groceries, if everybody wore masks, if everybody was doing physical distancing, if everybody avoided crowds, maybe we would have got over it quicker. But to get everyone to agree to this kind of thing was always impossible, which is why I thought lockdowns were fucking dumb. Because not everyone's going to stay indoors. Some people are just going to go outdoors. Do you know what I mean? That's what I never understood. Like, unless you're going to do fucking full-on China monitoring and fucking communism, you're never, ever, ever going to get people to stop going outside. It's never going to happen.
You don't have to take out fucking ethyl alcohol and spray down.
It doesn't affect food.
Yeah, Panda Express fucking to-go boxes. We didn't have to do any of that. Nobody, it was insane. But we were out there, and I remember doing stand-up the week before the election. And it was November. And it was the week before the election. And I remember we had the pandemic and the election. And I remember saying to my opener, we were sitting in the back in the green room, and I said, and then Trump, I believe, he had just got COVID.
I think you were in Nashville, and he was getting flown in a helicopter.
Yeah, and I don't know when this was. It was maybe, October.
Yeah.
It was close to the election.
Yeah.
And I said to my opener, I'm like, we could find out the president is dead in the middle of the show. I'm like, we don't know what's going on. I'm like, the president of the United States, who's in his 70s, has COVID.
Yeah, that's true.
Who's overweight in his 70s, has COVID, and we are sitting in the back of, I don't know if it was Stand Up Live in Phoenix. I don't know where I was, but I said, we're like close to an election. I'm like, there's never been a crazier time in my memory to do stand-up comedy than this period.
No,
you know what's funny too about that time too? If I remember correctly, I want to get up on the screen here. I think some Americans might agree. Don't you guys remember when Donald Trump got COVID, how many people were secretly wishing he died? Do you remember that? That was like a thing. Like people were literally wishing he would die. Because if I remember correctly, I think it was similar to when Boris Johnson here in the UK, our Prime Minister, when Boris Johnson got COVID, it was basically they were getting briefed in the news that there may be a change in kind of, leadership. And they were obviously briefing the party like he might pass away because at that time, Boris Johnson was really fat and overweight and he had all the kind of markers of somebody that could potentially die from COVID and he was on like death's door. And I think the story is saying with Trump. Trump was actually on death's door, like he was close because of how unhealthy he is and whatever it may be. So there was clearly some worries that he could pass away. But I remember it being a big thing that people were pushing, not pushing. There was this kind of weird kind of thing that people were doing where they were kind of like, yeah, if he dies, it's good because he wasn't taking COVID seriously. Do you guys remember that? That was a thing. But what I remember was him coming back on the balcony. Was it Trump COVID? Let's see if I can get up on it. Trump COVID balcony. That I remember the best. That was what I remember the best. You guys remember that? That legitimately was one of the most blockbuster things I've ever seen in my entire life. When he flew back on Air Force One, or is it Air Force One? What's that helicopter you guys have where the president's going? He flew back from the hospital, right? Like triumphantly came back, stepped out onto that balcony and ripped off his mask. You remember? That was like box office TV, man. Like legitimately box office TV. Like this guy is like an awful, awful president, awful leader, terrible politician. Maybe he's a good politician, actually, because of how maybe he sticks up to the opposition. I don't really know. But just in general, not the best leader in the world. Doesn't really inspire confidence, right? Maybe someone that causes more division and brings people together. When it comes to providing box office on TV, there's nothing better than that. Literally nothing better than a president, who kind of flouted all the COVID restrictions, said it wasn't real, and then got COVID, and then said, I'm not dead. I'm not dead. It was never given dead. Comes back on his helicopter and rips off his markers on the fucking White House balcony with the flags behind him and shit, standing proud, defiant, breathing in the air. And I remember the time when I remember reading it, or I remember seeing it live on TV when it happened. Maybe I can get a video of it actually where he comes back. Is there a video of it? I don't know if there is a video of it. There might be one. Where he comes back on the thing. And I remember him he's like weirdly breathing too when he comes back on it too, if I remember correctly. It was like, he didn't look that great. He was kind of labored in his breathing. Honestly, legitimately one of the most craziest times in the world. This is the CNN thing, right? Obviously, this is kind of Trump's favorite, right? CNN, fake news. Let's see if it works. Probably going to be a report of someone chatting shit. But I did enjoy him being on the balcony, just ripping that mask off. It was fucking crazy. Because it was literally like he was the Undertaker. He came back from the dead like he went, It was never given dead. Come on, load, you cunt, or I'm going to move on. Okay, I'm going to move on. I don't give a fuck. You know what I mean anyway. I'm sure most of you have seen the video. But anyway, let's move on. So, next thing to talk about here that I wanted to talk about was this. Do you guys remember that fucking, what you call it, Aztec death whistle thing, right? That Bryan allegedly blew and it caused all the issues. It might have caused the issues. It may have. This is a little clip taken from the Joe Rogan podcast. Hopefully it doesn't get me taken off of fucking YouTube, because Joe Rogan and his fucking bots are brutal when it comes to playing his clips. But I'm going to play a little bit of it and switch between the screens. Hopefully it doesn't take me down, but let's see. But this is taken from the fight companion they did recently, right? That was really awkward, but Joe basically remembers, you know, the whole thing. So let's play it and then I'll see what he says.
It was sometime in 2020. For sure.
No, I don't think so, Eddie. No way.
Yeah?
For sure.
We did one during the pandemic?
That's when Callen blew the whistle and started all the problems.
Oh, that's right. Dude. You blew the Aztec death whistle. Yes. Right before the pandemic. That's it. Dude, you
the fake kind of like brotherly love thing going on there is funny too. Like, Joe Rogan remembers something I did. We're friends again. Yay.
I apologize to everybody. I got that thing tucked away in a box. Okay, you're gonna conjure a demon.
It's a bad idea.
I'm not superstitious about many things, but that Aztec death whistle, after he blew that and the whole world fell apart, everything went to shit. Maybe that's not good, because that was a real one.
And the funny thing about it is that was happening when the screenshot say? It says it happened around January the 9th, right? 2020. That's what it says, right? January 9th, 2020. The funny thing is, I then ended up Googling and thinking, hold on, if that was the cause of all the bad things, when did Callen and Crystalia's thing happen? Because I felt like it happened quite soon after. Now look when I Googled it. Crystalia allegations date, June 2020. When he was accused of diddling kids, right? And then I said, when did Bryan Callen's thing happen? July 31st, 2020. That legitimately might be one of the most greatest examples of karma I've ever seen in my entire life, because, again, I don't know what happened. I don't know if Crystalia does diddle kids. I don't know if fucking Bryan Callen does rape. Who knows, right? He jokes, he rapes, whatever. Who knows? But the funny thing, the thing that annoyed me the most about it was that these guys pretended that they were best friends. They pretended that they were fucking brothers and shit. And in the moment his brother got involved in a little bit of passa, got in a situation, they both, Brendan and Bryan, dropped him like a hot potato. They were on their show crying, sobbing. Aah! And the thing that I don't like about it, it's all good maybe, you know, commenting on it and crying, but it was the way that Bryan went out of his way to distance himself from Chris. I remember him saying specifically, he was like, oh, actually, let me get the video up. I remember him saying something like, oh, I never knew Crystalia. Like, we never hung out. Or something like that. Like, he made it clear. Whereas Brendan was just crying and being emotional because my friend, I can't hang out with him and he's cancelled and I love him. But Bryan went out of his way to fucking make sure that you guys knew that they weren't friends. And then, like someone says in the stream, he also then went and deleted all the pictures of Crystalia he had on his fucking Instagram account. Like, you can't get any more worse than that. You can't get any more. So let's see it. Brendan Schaub, Bryan Callen, Crystalia crying. Is it crying? Let's see if I can get. Is it crying? I don't know what it's called. When they do the apology. Yeah, this is the one. The reaction. Okay. Oh, it's got, Jesus Christ, it's got 1.4 million views. Holy shit! So this is good for business, isn't it? This is definitely good for business. So this is them reacting to it, right? So let's see. From their official channel, 1.4 million views. Oh my god. No wonder.
Brendan, we have to at least talk about this. You guys, if you follow the news, if you're alive, if you've been following this Twitter thing the way we have.
And this is more emotion than Brendan thinks funny too, because he's shown more emotion here than I've ever seen him his whole life. Because I said it before, touch wood, I don't want it to happen, but if ever Joe Rogan kicks the can, like, before his time, he might legitimately take a break from podcasting for a week. Or for 2 weeks or for a month. Because he never ever cries at this when it's like something to do with his family. Like, what happened? I think his wife's fucking grandma died. Guy just kept on moving. I think there was a fucking what they had a, what's that word called when you don't they had a miscarriage, I think, when they were trying for a kid, went on tour, his own grandma died, didn't move, didn't blink. You know what I mean? But then Crystalia gets accused of diddling kids, and these mans are sobbing like he got fucking, you know, assassinated filming a fucking movie out in fucking Afghanistan or something. Really crazy.
you know what's going on with our friend Chris. I'm not, in these situations, people in Hollywood tell you what to say. And I said to Brendan, what we can do is tell the truth. And I'm not going to sit here. I'm a man, and I define myself on how I respond to these situations in real time.
How do you respond?
When the pressure's really on.
Okay, how do you respond, Brian?
And so this is what I'll say.
Tell us, Brian. Tell us. Tell us.
I always knew Chris is a ladies' man.
Okay.
I have never, and I'm going to say this, I have never seen...
I wish I never... Number one, I will never diddle kids. I swear that on my life. That's never going to happen. But if I was ever involved in something nefarious, I would hate for my friends to start out by trying to defend me by saying, I always knew he was a ladies' man. Don't ever defend me like that ever, okay?
Seen or heard of him doing anything illegal, ever. This is a shocking...
Interesting, right? That's the interesting thing, because I don't notice it. That's him basically protecting himself, first of all. It's not him saying anything about his friend. It's him saying, I didn't see him doing anything illegal, so don't put me involved. Don't bring me into it. I never saw it. I never saw any underage girls. I was at church at the time. I was helping out in an orphanage. I was at a soup kitchen.
To me, as I'm watching this happen, I don't know what to think, and I don't know what to say. I don't. But I'm going to say it again. I have personally never heard or seen
Saving my own skin.
do anything illegal.
What's Brendan doing?
That's all I can say. And right now, I have to believe that because he's still a friend. And
hell of a friend, isn't it? Let's delete all the pictures. Look. And he's got the glasses on because he got his lids done. The funny thing about this, he throws his own friend under the bus. Okay, it's a heinous crime. Don't get me wrong. He's got kids to look after. I understand. Let's be honest and be adults about it. I get why he would do it, right? I still think it's disgusting. I would never do something like that, but I get why he would do it. But he's also sitting there post cosmetic surgery to get his eyebrows or his lids lifted in order to make his face look younger, to open up his face. Even though he looks, 150 here, regardless anyway. So he's still a bit inflamed and the bruising is still showing up there. And he throws his friend under the bus to kind of, because again, he got the lids done or the eyelids done to, help, what's that thing called? To help kind of add some more years to his fucking career. But then he ends up throwing his friend under the bus to also help him stay in the business. But then a month later, he then buries himself because he gets accused of what he gets accused of. It's funny.
And it may be unpopular to say that, but I don't know what else to say. I don't know what else to do, and I'm not going to be some. I just think it's an impossible situation.
These niggas are crying because their friend got accused of touching kids. Legitimately, if it's me and it's one of my friends, if you're getting a really cold statement, just matter of factly, I don't know, what I mean? It's a very tough time. I've got no comment on the situation, but I don't know. It's a very cold sort of statement, or you're not getting nothing at all. But I'm not sitting there sobbing because I've lost a friend because they're being accused of being a flipping diddler. Do you know what I mean? It's not that deep. You touch kids, it's like, okay, cool, you're not my friend anymore. I'll find other friends. I don't need to be hanging out with somebody that might, hit on my fucking teenage daughter. It's okay. It's not that serious. But again, these guys are another level.
And I'm just at a loss. I'm at a loss. And I'm praying.
Let's see that face.
I'm just at a loss. I'm at a loss. And
honestly, man, there is nothing about this. There's nothing about this. Honestly, I swear to God, I don't know, maybe guys in the chat is different. Do you guys have a friend do you guys have a friend, guys in the chat and girls in the chat, if they're accused, and again, this is a particular crime, they get accused of trying to hit on underage girls, would you react like this? Would you cry? Like, I wouldn't cry. I'd be upset because maybe I didn't know that my friend was a monster, right? It's fucking distressing to find this out. But would I cry though? That's what I'm thinking. Would I cry? Like, would I be sobbing that my friend might be a fucking I don't know. I don't think I would be crying at this. I think I'd be upset at myself. Maybe I didn't notice. Did I play a part in it? How could I not know? Blah, blah, blah. I've lost. But I don't know if I'd be sobbing. Like, but I said, they knew it's a show. That's what I believe. I've said it before. My theory is everybody knew. Because what Bryan's saying was true. Chris was a ladies' man, right? People always say it. You go to, sorry, I keep burping because there's water. People always used to say that Chris Lee the thing you used to hear about Chris Lee all the time was that despite his comedy being all physical and being all weird, he always used to murder, right? He was a murderer. He made people laugh all the time. And also they said he was the only comedian who legitimately used to have like women and girls come to his shows, like actual hot looking women and girls. Like it was incredible because usually I guess comedy clubs are full of, non-hot looking people who just want to get drunk and laugh at jokes. So that was quite interesting to see that visually. And the people would also say after the shows, he'd always be surrounded by like these strangers around him, like guys trying to be groupie guy friends and also random girls. It was a thing people used to say. So people just stand there and just pretend like they didn't see maybe a couple of girls who maybe looked like they were on the cusp of 17 or 16 or 18 is insane. They definitely saw something, but at the time it didn't matter because he was fucking the big star. But it's just funny, man. I don't know. I just find it funny. Let's continue.
And I'm praying that what I'm hearing isn't true. Maybe that's the best way to put it.
I can't talk.
Let's go back. Go. Honestly, I told you before, I'm not wishing this, but if Joe Rogan was ever to pass before his time, these guys might take a month off of podcasting. There may be a day of remembrance. So, I mean, they may go that far. It may be crazy. Because if they were crying like this over Chris Lee, I can only imagine what happens if, oh my God.
I can't talk.
It's just, it's like, it's a weird thing because I said to
Brendan's actually showing an emotion. He's actually crying. Bryan Callen's trying to cry, but he can't because his heart has been numbed by all the rejections he had in Hollywood. And he just got his lids done.
Brendan, I said, it's like, it's like watching someone die or something. And also, it's just...
What? Watching someone die? No. Anyway, let's just continue. What? Was that?
And also, it's just... what's important to say, we haven't spoken to Chris.
No.
And... We've never been on the road with him.
Oh my God, this is why I hated it. This is why this is where I stopped liking Bryan Callen.
On the road with him about 14 years.
Because if the video just stops there and we're just upset and we send prayers to everybody, our thoughts and feelings go out to the victims, and we just hope that there's a good conclusion at the end of this. But it just cut us all up. We're shocked. We're really shocked, and we just don't have nothing more to say. And it ended fine. But this bit at the end was so gross. You're meant to be friends, bruv. Shut the fuck up.
Years ago once, when he was, just beginning, but I've never been on the road with him. So I don't know. I don't know what to think, and I don't know. And that's what's so frustrating.
I'm just sad.
Yeah.
I'm sad.
So anyway. Yeah. Sometimes that's the best thing to say, is to say, I don't know what to say. And I'm just, I don't know, man.
Anyway, I'm gonna leave it there. I'm gonna leave it, honestly. Oh, what an epic time. I need to leave it there and get some tissue, and then I'll be back. Bear with me one moment. Holy shit. Absolute idiot. But anyway, look, at the end of the day, anyway, it didn't really matter. At the end of the day, they all landed back on their feet. Really, having a Hollywood career really is it always cracked up to be anyway. If you're not really one of the top people performing and doing big shows and doing big movies, what's the point of just middling around doing fucking shitty things anyway? There's no point. You probably make way more money doing podcasting and doing your own stand-up things anyway. If you're going on Hollywood, maybe you just want to be part of that circuit and you want to live that dream, but after a certain point, you just have to maybe give that up. So they all land on their feet. Maybe Chris is maybe the more gutted one because he was on the cusp of trying to make it into Hollywood, but it never actually mattered in the end of it. It was a big deal at the time, but nothing actually happened, really, in the scheme of things. You know what I mean? Chris is married, he's got a kid, like Brent, Bryan's divorced with somebody else, looks pretty happy. Everyone kind of has strived on and continued on. If anything, the only person who's maybe come out of it the worst, maybe, if you're really looking at analysing it, is maybe Brendan. Brendan might have been the worst sort of like victim off the back of all of this, because he had to basically bear the brunt of all of this on his own. He didn't have anyone around him, right? Because when Chris D'Elia got cancelled and Bryan got cancelled, it basically left him alone because no one wanted to associate with him because he was associated with those guys. And then he had to kind of run the show by himself because Bryan couldn't be on the show because obviously he was accused of fucking rape and shit. It's probably bad for optics and bad for sponsors and whatnot. It wasn't really a moral thing. I'm sure if you could have had Bryan on the show, you would have had him on the show. But because the sponsors wouldn't let it, he didn't have him on the show. He was on his own, isolated. So he probably suffered a lot. Then he had to go through having co-hosts that he didn't like, especially the black dudes. He didn't like them whatsoever. That was really awkward. And all that kind of stuff. He supported the show on his own. He's got expensive taste. He's got a family he has to look after, kids in private school. It's not easy. Do you know what I mean? So he had to bear a lot of it. He's probably the biggest victim, funnily enough, off the back of this. And then fast forward a couple of more years, he then gets involved in his own shit where he kind of then ends up being not only like the T5K Reddit's most hated comedian, he ends up being everybody's most hated comedian now. Like people, regular YouTubers are making videos about him and shit. He's trying to sue people it went from bad to worse for him. The whole area, the Ariel Wani thing too. True, Ariel Wani stuff happened. Marty Moose just mentioned it already on there too. Like Brendan probably suffered the most out of it, but Chris D'Elia and Bryan really landed on their feet. But Brendan really fucked up. He really suffered the most. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, he's true. As Flazza said, he's aged terribly too. From this clip, he looks fucking awful. Compare Brendan there to Brendan here. I know it's a bad picture because he's eating, but compare that guy to this guy. Like, that is bad, isn't it? Like, that, let's actually move it along here, and actually, so I can bring this up there. Let's bring it there. Compare this guy to that guy. That is fucking awful, isn't it, no? That is a real bad indictment of, like, how much stress can do to you. That's what happens when someone gets cancelled. You hit the drink, you want to get yourself on back on an even kill, and it doesn't get any better than that. So, he did end up soldering it through anyway, but regardless, what a tough time to probably be those guys, isn't it? What a tough time. Let's move on. What should we talk about here? That I thought was awesome to talk about before I leave you guys. What was it? Low bar, this, oh, it's all about this. What is it? Was it this one? Or that one? No, it's all about this. Was it this one? No, not that. Hold on, let's continue. Yeah, this is the one. This is the one. This is an interesting clip. So have you guys seen this? This is a clip taken from the Fight Companion that they did recently, which was legitimately one of the most awkwardest fight companions I've ever seen in my life. There was no chemistry between any of them. I don't know. It was just awful. Awful fight companion. And I think we might be the first and last that they've done with that original crew. I'd really be surprised if Joe invites those guys back again, especially Brendan and Bryan. It just didn't work, man. Eddie Bravo clearly wasn't vibing with them either. It just felt really off. Like people that haven't met in a while and they know why they haven't. No, it wasn't. When usually you haven't met your friends sometimes, like old friends, and you meet them up after a while and you just click again. Even if it's after a little awkward 2 minutes, you click back right how you were before. But sometimes you meet up with friends who you know why you haven't met up because you heard something about them, or because you fell out, or because you just don't like them anymore, and you have to trying to make it work in real time, and you're not really vibing. That's what it felt like. But anyway, this start was really funny because Joe basically echoed thoughts that I've said for a long time. Because I'm one of the people who doesn't think it's that bad of an idea that Brendan has got his own whiskey, even though people keep saying it's terrible because I haven't tasted it. People keep saying it's fucking garbage and it's not worth the money. But I actually don't think it's a bad idea in terms of everything he does, because everything that he gets into in terms of a hobby, he turns into some kind of business, whether it's riding a bike, whether it's running, whether it's working out, whether it's fucking chewing tobacco, creating whatever. He turns whatever hobby or interest he gets into some sort of business venture. So when he started to get into whiskey, it made complete sense that he'd maybe do his own whiskey, which, you know, if he did it properly, would have been successful. If he just, you know, did a partnership and white labeled a bottle, he probably would have made a bunch of money. But he went to do it his own way from the ground up or something, or in a, I don't know, some weird way. He went to try and sell it on Shopify and shit, and it obviously didn't work out. He didn't know anything about the industry, anything about the rules, anything about the regulations, and it didn't really work out as well as he probably wanted it. Maybe he's still doing it, I'm not really too sure, but he doesn't really mention it too tough. But the one thing that I thought was really dumb and really bad was the name. And it's called a Tiger Thick, right, whiskey. And I always thought it sounded like Tiger Cum or Donkey Dick or something. It had that weird kind of sound towards it. It sounded like, it just didn't sound pleasurable. It didn't sound aspirational. It didn't sound cool. It didn't sound anything. Like Tiger Thick, it's just terrible, terrible name. I hate the label. I hate the bottle design. It just looks bad. It looks like, it actually looks like a bottle of soy sauce. It doesn't even look like a bottle of flipping whiskey. I should get it up on the screen so I can see. Where is it? Tiger, what's it called? Tiger Thick, right? Tiger Thick whiskey. Yeah, let's see if we can get it up on the screen. Yeah, the bottle design I hate. It literally looks like a bottle designed of fucking soy sauce or vinegar or something, or like some sort of olive oil, right? This doesn't look like a bottle of like premium whiskey to me. It looks very olive oily-ish, right? Or maybe I'm kind of bugging out, but I don't really like the bottle design. I think the bottle design is horrendous personally for me. But and the name also is fucking garbage. But anyway, Joe Rogan seems to agree with me, and he said the following on his fucking Fight Companion.
Here, give me your fucking glass so I could pour you some Tiger Thick. It's very good whiskey with the worst fucking name ever.
Come on, man. How dare you?
And you can tell he's never heard that. That kind of hurt him a little bit, which is weird because it's great. The one thing I'd want someone to say to me is that you have a great whiskey, it tastes good, but maybe the label's shit, or maybe this is bad, the cut, whatever. But if the taste good, why do you give a fuck about the name? But you know, because it's named after this kid allegedly and it's tied in with a brand, I don't know, it's fucking shit.
It's a bad name, but the whiskey's very fucking
I love
good.
the name.
What's the name?
Tiger Thick.
Yeah, it's
bourbon and
So obviously it's named after his son, and obviously the thick with the fucking 3 C's of his brand thing. But it didn't need to be that. It could have been just Tiger whiskey. It could have been thick whiskey. It didn't need to. Even thick whiskey sounds weird, isn't it? But regardless, terrible name, horrible for the whiskey. But I don't actually think it's a bad idea. It would have helped if he would have known the business of how to get into fucking whiskeys. But you know, you're asking for too much for these kind of guys, because I do think it's actually a good idea, especially if you're just trying to sling it into certain comedy clubs and whatnot. It might make complete sense. Let's continue on. What's something I want to show you quickly here that I thought was interesting and funny? Well, I've spoken about everything I spoke about, haven't I? Or have I not so anything? Oh, this is a good one. Yeah, this is a good one. This is a good one. Oh, no, let's move on. Let's done that one already. Yeah, let's do this one. This one's interesting. So, as I mentioned before, this Fight Companion was terrible. This is coming from a fan, because I was one of the people, even though I started to get turned off by the Fighting the Kid and Brendan and Bryan as people. Someone saying something to me? What are you saying? Actually, Schaub named the whiskey. That's the only role he played in making it. That's why when Joe said that he got in his feelings. Oh, okay, Martin, that makes sense. So the only thing he actually did was name the whiskey. But everything, because I think people discovered in the Fighting the Kid subreddit, right? They discovered that the recipe and everything else is already done. It's like a thing you just stick your label on or something like that. So he didn't really have anything to do with the taste and whatever. It's all kind of pre-done. And it isn't really Japanese whiskey. It's kind of like a fake version of it. I don't really know. A lot of whiskey aficionados basically were dropping knowledge about it, but it clearly wasn't what he was selling out to be, which is standard Brendan, isn't it? He was kind of, you know, fluffing. Anyway, regardless, moving on. JRE Fight Companion recently with the original crew in Joe Rogan, Bryan, Callen, Brendan Schaub, and Eddie Bravo was a disaster personally for me. I felt it was really boring. It didn't really seem fun. And as someone like myself who, again, like I mentioned before, as much as I'm not a fan of Fighting the Kid anymore, I still was one of those people who actually enjoyed watching Bryan and Brendan actually on JRE. I thought they're actually their best versions on that show, because they were trying to be funny and trying to have a laugh. Bryan was allowed to do his own thing. He wasn't cucked by Brendan. Brendan was clearly trying to make Joe laugh all the time because that's his daddy. Like, it was a good actual show to watch. It was quite fun. I would like to have it in the background and watch UFC. I didn't mind it before, right? But obviously, since everything's gone down with those guys in terms of Brendan and Bryan with their allegations and accusations and just their reputations in tatters and whatnot, and Joe going from strength to strength, Spotify deal moving to Austin, there's clearly been a bit of a divide and a bit of a, I think, distancing in terms of relationship. They maybe still are cool, but they weren't as cool as they were before. They're not as cool as when Brendan was like the most freaking appearance guest on Joe Rogan. It's not the same thing anymore. Bryan himself hasn't been back on Joe Rogan on his own anymore since those allegations. He hasn't even got the chance to promote his own comedy special, just dropped. All this sort of stuff has happened. So I think all that stuff is evidence and proof that those guys don't really sit in the same place that they were before in Joe Rogan's kind of totem pole of like friends and shit. And not totem pole, but in terms of like, you know, the warmth they had before wasn't the same. And the show kind of illustrated it, and it was really clunky and weird. And one of the main aspects of it, I thought, was Bryan Callen's desperation to kind of promote his fucking comedy special. It was brutal to watch, because I guess he went there with the sole purpose of trying to promote his comedy special, because from what I've seen, it looked like he actually dropped it the day after he did the show. So it was kind of tied into all that sort of shit, which is good, because usually Bryan doesn't pay any attention to marketing and all that kind of stuff. So he did it with that kind of strategic mind in place. But he's also maybe heavy-handed in it. And I guess the kind of unspecified rule of Joe Rogan, when you go on the show, unless he tells you to kind of plug, you're not meant to actually go in there and plug. You're meant to just go in there and have a chat, have a conversation, right? You're not meant to go in there and be overly kind of selly. So I guess because of that, especially when you're a friend, it kind of annoys him. And I guess Joe's back was up from the beginning, and this is the exchange that you get.
What is it called? What is the word?
Antioxidant?
No. What is the word?
Catalyst and...
Shut the fuck up. Come on, man. I got it. It's at the tip of my tongue. I don't remember it. God damn it.
All right, well.
And you hear the silence. He told a grown man to shut the fuck... I know they're friends. I know it's a joke. I know. I get it. And sometimes you say it to your friends, shut the fuck up, you cunt. Shut up. What are you talking shit for? But that shut the fuck up came from his soul. That was like, you're annoying. You're like a fly in my ear buzzing around. Now fuck off. Hear that? Listen again.
Shut the fuck up. Come on, man. I got it.
Catalyst and...
Shut the fuck up.
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 That's not the face of somebody that wants you to be on the show. You know what I mean? It's like, I'm doing you a favor, you fucking R-word. You know what I mean? Don't be trying to interrupt and trying to tell me the thing that I may be missing. I know what it is. I've drunk my fucking brain juice. Or what is it called that they have? What's it called? Not G Fuel. What do they make? What's the stuff, the supplements he makes with that guy that likes to flip in, have harams of women and shit? What's his name? Doesn't matter anyway. But regardless, that was a video I went to play and prove the evidence that maybe the love between those guys isn't what it once was. Anyway, moving on quickly now. Play a bit of Bryan Callen's set from his own comedy special, which I might actually do a bit of, because I've not done my Patreon in ages. So big up the Patreon fans out there that are still on there. I appreciate you guys. I'm being shit as I get in content, so I might do a little review on it on there. But Bryan Callen's got a new comedy special out at the moment, and the clips that people have been uploading on the Fight Like Kids subreddit have been hilarious. So this is one of the clips that I guess people are uploading. So we're going to go through a few of these clips and see what Bryan's doing in terms of his comedy, and if he's funny or not. Did we laugh? Did we like it? Let me know in the chat down below.
No, you can cry. I'm not. I hate this macho shit. Of course you can cry. If your cat died and you cry, of course cry. I'm not going to be mean to you in the moment, but I'm never going into business with you. Because you're not stable, huh?
That's funny, no? That's funny.
I can't talk.
It's just... You know, it's like... It's a weird thing, because I said to Brendan, I said, it's like... You know, it's like watching someone die or something. And also, it's just... you know, we haven't. What's important is that we haven't spoken...
How can you talk about men not crying and be manly man when you fucking sat in the chair fucking sobbing tears that your friend got cancelled because he may or may not have been the character he played in you in real life? Come on, man. These people. But anyway, another clip about Bryan doing his stand-up comedy. Let's see if this bit's funny. It's him doing a bit on stools. Get it? Stools.
I have 2 stools. I could strike it, but I'm not gonna. I'll be the first special with 2 fucking stools in case.
Why didn't he wear those fucking shitty sandals to his comedy special then? Why is he wearing sneakers? If those toast fucking things are so good, why is he not wearing them on stage, eh?
In case I gotta tame 2 lions at the same time.
I don't know what to say about that comedy. I don't know. I don't know what to say. I don't know. It's just, it feels like it's I know it's new material, but it feels, I know it's probably the first joke. It's just a throwaway observational thing, but it just feels the same. Just doesn't, there's nothing new under the sun. But anyway, continue. Another clip of him doing stand-up. Let's see if this is any good.
One of my best friends called me and he goes, "What's going on?" And I was like, "Well, I'm sad." And he was like, "Well, you got the wrong number." I know. And I was like, "Joe Rogan, that's so mean."
Boo. He did it too. Brendan did it too in his comedy special, right? He mentioned like Joe Rogan and Theo Vaughn or something. I feel like if these guys have to mention their friends by name, then it's usually an indication that the comedy special sucks. If you have to kind of mention your cool friend's name and stuff, or your popular friends that everyone knows you're gonna get an applause break. That's not a joke. The fact that you have to mention your friend's name like that is fucking lame, in my opinion. Lame.
Callen and I and Schaub have actually talked about this. Like, let's call Callen right now.
What's up, bud? Shut the fuck up.
This subreddit is the best. PF Chang to find the kid. These guys are the fucking best, honestly. They're literally the best content you've ever seen online. Oh god, but I guess you can support his special if you want to out there. What's it called actually? It's called something, right? What's his special? I don't care, I don't know. But I'll probably do a review for it on my Patreon later. But let's see this other one. Next one, let's see this. Worst joke on the special. Let's see this one.
But this is my theory on why men don't cry in front of each other. Because when men meet each other, if you take away all the protocol and all the fluff, it's like, how you doing? What's going on? You know, it's all that, yeah. But there's only one question in the room. There's only truly one primary question. When 2 men meet each other, right? At the end of it, if you strip it to its bare bones, the only thing going on in each man's mind is, can I kill this motherfucker? That's it. I'm telling you. Like, if we were naked in a room, who comes out first? That's a fact.
I guess this is part of his bit, right? This whole like man alpha thing and fighting stuff. That's his shtick. But have you ever wondered that ever when you've been in a room with the other man? I've never wondered that. I've never wondered, can I fuck someone up? Am I going to be able to fuck them? Can he fuck me? It's not something that's at the front of my brain. I don't know. I don't know. I'm thinking about other things. What am I going to have for dinner? Did I leave the cooker on? Do I have my charger? Do I have my keys? Should I take another bump? Do you know what I mean? I'm not thinking about whether or not this guy is going to kill me or not. I don't really care. And if he is going to kill me, he's going to kill me, innit? What's the point of worrying about it? It's a strange premise for a joke, but I guess, you know, when that's your stick to be like the manly alpha thing, I guess it makes sense, innit? So imagine watching that. Imagine paying good money to watch that. Let's go and sit down and watch him do physical comedy, name-dropping Joe Rogan, talking about whether he's going to fuck someone or not, and whether or not other men that he meets are going to kill them. I don't know. It's just weird. It's just fucking weird. And then what else we want to talk about here before I head off? So this one, yeah. What do you guys think of this kid? I think this is there's featured him on the Fire and the Kid. Sorry, it's featured on the Fire and the Kid subreddit. What do you guys think of this kid? As much as I do the same sort of thing, I guess, with some of the commentary I make, but I find this kid who kind of breaks down specials, and I think he's done a few videos on Shaw, but I find him a little bit lame. I'm not going to lie. I think he kind of strips away the kind of intention behind jokes and makes them too literal. Maybe I did the same thing. I don't know. I don't know. I find this guy's observations a little bit, some of them are good, some of them I feel they're a little bit lame. He's coming at it a little bit too nerdy. He's kind of being a bit too pedantic, maybe, but maybe I'm mistaken. But anyway, he's got this really good clip that he put out where he sort of breaks down some things that Brendan says usually when he's feeling like he's not getting the applause that he needs, like a weird tick that I hadn't actually noticed.
If you don't know Brendan Schaub, he is a well-known comedian that is as unfunny as he is a bad person. He has some of the lowest scores in IMDb history for both of his comedy specials, and his very own subreddit has turned on him and has now become a very popular hate page just because of how unlikable he is. He transitioned to another joke by just saying, "I got COVID, I'm gay, that's cool." And then he did that thing that people do when they tell an unfunny joke where they immediately go, "Anyways, and so then the audience knows that they should laugh at the joke. Because awkward, you didn't mean to say that.
I got COVID, I'm gay, that's cool. Anyways, he's a lizard person, we know this. Anyways, so, I'm going bad on Dallas, he's a hero. Anyways, he's such a bad person. Anyways, all right. Yeah, so,
So I didn't actually notice he does that often. So, anyways, I didn't actually notice that thing. So that was a pretty interesting little clip to see. But I find that kid to be a little bit lame. What people are saying on the chat here. He's made a super lame videos on other content creators. Says Coiler at K Castro says I got recommended this and couldn't get through the video. Just says he doesn't know comedy. He didn't know who Harland Williams was. Exactly. There we go. His nails look like fake tan. It's a shock. That's interesting. Mike Mrs. Wow, instantly hate this kid's persona. He ain't in a position to talk about anyone. He's naturally white as fuck. Yeah, I don't know. There's something about the kid I don't like. I don't know what it is. There's something about him just comes across badly. Even though he's, he's probably doing the same thing that I'm doing. I'm probably doing the same thing he's doing. I don't know, but just the way he kind of like tries to overly flipping dissect jokes as if like the person's writing a fucking telenovela or something. It usually isn't that deep. Is it funny? Is it not? That's basically it, but I don't know. Maybe it's the autism in me. I'm not really too sure, but I'm not really the biggest fan of that kid's work. I have to be completely honest on that one. Let's continue on. I think, is that it before I roll? I think that might be it, isn't it? I think that might be it. Oh yeah, this is. Have you seen this? This might be again. This is the antithesis of like how bad the relationship is between them, right? This is how bad it is. So I always said already, the fighting the kid, I'm sorry, JRE fight companion was a disaster. They're clearly not as close as they were before. Things have changed. People have moved on. People have got older. Blah, 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 blah. But one of the saddest things on there was Bryan Callen's desperation to plug his special, because I guess he had this trip in mind in terms of his release schedule for his special. He was going to drop his special around the same time he was going to be on JRE. So he wanted to get the maximum bit of exposure on there. But at the same time he's promoting his special, he's also promoting these fucking shitty elephant sandals that he wears. So it was probably hard to kind of keep track on what he was plugging. But it looked like Joe wasn't happy about it. But I guess Joe is usually not too happy when people plug their stuff too, obviously. And this is what happened towards the end, I think, of the show, where Bryan's kind of asking it for again. I don't know if he's joking or if he's being serious, but it was just really cringe to see this. It was really, really cringe. I'm not going to lie. Really fucking cringe. I put it on the screen. Sorry about that.
And I talk all kind of mad
They don't
shit.
suppress you.
That's what conspiracy's on. Conspiracy Social Club. It's a good app.
Exactly, right?
Fuck yeah.
Okay.
I love it.
We love you
Plug
guys.
my special,
Thank you,
Joe.
everybody. I love you guys. Bye.
Hell yeah.
Jesus Christ. Plug my, yeah, see, hear that? Plug my special. And he obviously pretended he didn't hear it. And then,
Exactly, right?
Fuck yeah.
Okay.
I love it.
We love you
Plug
guys.
my special,
Thank you,
Joe.
everybody. I love you guys. Bye.
Hell yeah.
headphones off, push away the mic. I'm tired. I'm done. Jesus Christos, bruv. Like, it must be hard to take too, to be fair to them. It must be hard to take. They were once in Joe's flipping inner circle. They had all his attention, all his love, and now the fucking Protect Our Park boys have taken over. Tim Dillon has taken over. Joe's rekindled his love of Theo Vaughn. Seems like he's giving Theo Vaughn a second chance, and now he gets him as a comedian. He actually laughs at his jokes. He doesn't try and be like, the typical Joe where all the jokes go over his head. Like, loads of people have kind of filled in the slots. But, oh man, it's brutal to see that, man. Really brutal. Grown men, like, trying to get the attention of somebody like that, and he's just not giving it back. It's like, ay. But anyway, that is it. That is episode number 47 of The Random Show with your host, AgostinhoZinga. Thank you, as per usual, for everyone for tuning in. It's been a pleasure to have your company. Let's see what Kanye's posted anything actually. It really has been nice. If it's your first time checking out my show and you like what you heard, make sure you smash that like button for me. If you want to come back and check out more content regarding myself, you know what to do. Hit subscribe and you'll be given more of that. Right? That'll be all. What they're saying here? That Kanye's trying to get Young Thug out. I mean, Young Thug out. Is that it? Okay, interesting. Let's get on the screen there. What did it say? What's this? Is take it from Kanye West's Instagram account. Someone's texting and says, "Got you. I'm gluing propositions of format together. Would it make sense to do it at Donda Academy property or Semi Valley?" I guess Kanye is texting back, said, "I'd rather move the trees on Young Thug property. I got 2 Chainz calling the mayor now to launch Build Donda University." So they're trying to build it on a Young Thug property. Okay, I guess that's cool. But anyway, regardless, thanks again for tuning in. It's been a pleasure to do the fan review. Yes, I got to do that. Sorry, the robot cash app. Yes, I got to do the fan review. Please remind me. I'll probably do it for the next random show. Next random show, I'll do the fan review, so you guys can see what I purchased and stuff, and hopefully you guys will be happy about it. So that'd be nice. But yeah, thanks again for tuning in. It's been a pleasure to have your company. I've enjoyed it and stuff. Click like and smash unlike if you didn't like it. Like if you did. Click subscribe and come back if you want to check me out again. I've got a podcast I also do called the HATES Show. Check that out also if you want to find out other things I'm interested in outside of comedy. Check that out. If you don't want to check it out, I understand also. If you just want to check this out, cool. It's been fun. It's been hilarious. Big up everybody in the chat that's been tuning in. Big up Marty Moose. Big up the Robot Cash Up. Big up Jess Fury as always. Big up Mice. Big up Coiler. Big up Shane Jr. Big up Princess Shark. Big up A Castro. I'm just scrolling through here. Big up MKR CVOJ. Big up A Maury. Big up Uche, he was here before. Big up Sean. Big up Mad Solar. Big up everyone in the chat that was hanging out. Honestly, it's been a fucking blast. Big up Flazers. Big up Max Taylor. Big up A. Big up Teju. Everyone that was around. Honestly, thank you so much for tuning in. Vanilla Sky, I appreciate you all. I really do, because you don't need to be here and you are, and I just don't take it for granted. So big you up, all of you. I'll see you guys again very, very soon. It's been a pleasure to have your company. Peace out, take care, be safe and all that malarkey, and I'll see you guys again soon. Peace.